We are locked in to the NFL trade deadline. This is the first year where I feel like teams understand that there's a real chance. There's a real chance to do something. The NFL is set up for parity, and for many years, it didn't feel like you had a realistic shot. You're seeing teams that are sub 500 trade for players in a year that you say to yourself, you're not winning anything. What are you doing? But it's not just for now. A lot of these moves are also being made with the future in mind as well. And sometimes we get caught up in the right now, right? The immediacy of a situation. But as we've seen teams like Chicago in the past, trade for Montez Sweat. Now, they also had a failed one with Chase Claypool, but you're seeing more teams kind of think with that mindset too of, hey, if I can get a guy that I think can help me not just now, but down the road and not have to pay a big price for it, I want to go ahead and make that move. So we're going to talk about everything that is happening with this NFL trade deadline. Obviously, teams have until 4 p.m. today, Eastern time, to make a move, have it processed by the NFL before that 4 o'clock deadline. And we're going to stay here as long as we can and keep you up to speed rather, and abreast of everything going on. Rumors, news, trades. We've already had some today, had one yesterday. I'm going to talk about all of them. I'm going to talk about the impact of those trades, what I think about those trades, and then we'll get into any news that continues to pop up. But with that said, you know what it is. You're locked into the Louie T Network podcast that starts now. The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the bonus pod episode of the Louie T Network podcast. It's a bonus episode, NFL trade deadline special. We may come back later on today. We may not. If more things happen, because sometimes trades get pushed through right before the deadline. You're thinking, okay, nothing's happened, and then bam, you get some news a little bit later on. And if we miss something here, we'll come back, we'll circle around, and we'll clean it up, potentially with another episode of the Louie T Network podcast. But this is a bonus episode right here as we get busy with this NFL trade deadline. I told you guys yesterday that I expected a lot of movement. We've seen several trades already take place today. There was one yesterday. I told you guys yesterday, for those of you who have been watching the channel closely, I told you that the Zadarius Smith to the Lions deal was pretty much done, right? I had people, saying that it was done and it was going to be finalized today. And I said that yesterday. So I said that deal is practically done. It's going to be finalized tomorrow. That did happen. And so we'll talk about all of those deals. But I see a lot of comments in the comment section regarding Rio. Let me address that real quick. I got a text from Rio this morning, and apparently his channel was taken down by YouTube. The details of the situation are a little sketchy. I'm not going to speak on it. That's not my place to have that conversation with you, but I will tell you that it has in fact been taken down. Obviously, he's working feverishly to try to get that situation rectified. If he cannot get it rectified, and his channel is not restored, then I've already told him we'll do whatever we got to do to help you get back on your feet. I'll push your new channel. We'll promote it. You guys go sub it up. I'll go over there, do some videos with him to get him some watch time, so those videos can start to percolate and he can get back on his feet. But hopefully it's a temporary situation and he'll be back up and running. But I've dealt with YouTube before in the past and had issues with them, and they are not the easiest to reason and rationalize with when things aren't going in your favor. So prayers up for Rio and his channel. Hopefully everything gets resolved. But yeah, it's a crazy situation, man. My heart sank when I got that text message this morning. So prayers up to you, Rio, and hopefully everything works out. But if not, I got your back, right? So with that said, trade deadline is upon us, and I don't think we've seen everything that's going to take place. Let's start with some of the rumors that are circulating right now, and then we'll get to the things that we do know, the things that have happened, and then we'll react to some of those deals. But let's talk about some of the news that's starting to percolate on social media. And I got my phone on here just in case something. So you might hear some noises in the background. That's my phone going off. I've got it set to um, go off if anything happens. So I've got my phone locked and loaded and ready to rock and roll. So the newest, and we'll get to a lot of this stuff, but the newest conversation right now at the bottom of the hour is that the Commanders are now in play for cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, and they're a real contender to try and land him. Now, this is not new news. If you're a Commanders fan, that's a name that we've been throwing out here recently. And that Saints loss to Carolina really put them in the crosshairs as a team that should be selling at the deadline. They fired Dennis Allen. They're going in a different direction. I would even look to trade, and I know he just got a new deal from the Saints maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. But I would look to trade Alvin Kamara. Like I would really be looking to hit the reset button. Chase Young, I would trade him if I can. Alvin Kamara, I would trade him if I can. Marshawn Lattimore, I would trade him if I can. Like you essentially need to strip down bare naked if you're the Saints and start this thing anew. Derek Carr is not the answer. If you could trade him, I would, right, to a team that could be looking for a quarterback. But at the end of the day, um, if you're the Saints, you should be looking to hit the reset button. You stink. Your organization has been fighting the good fight, not wanting to rebuild, but rather reload. And you're not in a reload situation. You're in a rebuild situation. Start from scratch. The minute Sean Payton bailed on you, you should have said, all right, it's time to recalibrate. He left for a reason. He left because he didn't see a way out of the situation. You guys were stuck in neutral and you weren't going to really move forward. And at that point, you should have said, okay, let's strip this thing down to its bare essentials and let's start over. And instead, you said, oh, Sean Payton left us prematurely. We still think we've got a window. There was no window. Derek Carr wasn't going to open up a window for you. Okay. You drafted some good football players. You've gotten some really good performances out of guys that I don't think you had, big expectations for, like Rashid Shaheed, for instance. But still, the fact remains this team isn't good enough to do anything of note. And so you should be looking to hit that reset button. And if I'm the Saints, I'd be looking to deal a ton of players and try to give Mickey Loomis an opportunity to recreate that 2017, I believe it was, draft with Lattimore and Ramczyk and all of those talented players. That was Kamara in that draft as well, I believe. Whatever that draft was, I think it was 2017. I would be looking to give Mickey Loomis as many draft picks as possible to see if he can't recreate that magic of 2017 and get us back to a playoff contention faster, much faster than slow. So we'll see what happens. Sticking on the cornerback subject with the Commanders in particular, not only has their name surfaced as a potential player for Marshawn Lattimore, their former first-round pick cornerback Emmanuel Forbes, who did not play on Sunday, and I wonder if that was a coincidence, okay, is reportedly being, shopped. The Commanders have let teams know they are interested in moving Emmanuel Forbes Jr. Now, what are you actually going to get for him? I don't think the market is all that hot for his services, but there could be a team out there that really liked him before the draft, felt like this guy could be really talented and someone that could fit in their scheme. And if you're the Commanders at this point, you're just willing to cut bait. If you can get a 5th round pick for this guy, if you can get a conditional fourth, fifth rounder where it's a sixth rounder initially, and if he plays X amount of snaps, or if he's on your roster come next year, March, we get a fifth rounder, something. If you can get anything for him, I think you try to move him. He is clearly not a part of their future plans, and he doesn't fit what they do defensively. He's not physical enough. He can't play man coverage. He's more of a zone corner. Maybe a team that plays a lot of zone coverage where they can key quarterbacks' eyes might be the best spot for a guy like Emmanuel Forbes. But he's a guy that I think they are looking to move. Will they be able to find someone that's willing to help facilitate that trade so they can pull the trigger? I don't know, but that is something that we have heard about with this situation. So Marshawn Lattimore is the big name right now. I think a lot of people are really interested in his services. We've heard him rumored to be going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are really going for it. Obviously, the Chiefs traded for Josh Uche. He played last night in the game against Tampa. They traded for him from the Patriots. That was a very quiet move, but that's a guy that can help them. Obviously, the big trade for them was the DeAndre Hopkins trade. We saw the kind of impact he had last night, that big catch on a crazy throw from Mahomes, and even crazier catch from Hopkins in like triple coverage, it felt like. And then the 2 touchdowns obviously were massive in that game. He's only going to get better as time continues to pass and they get more and more reps and time on task. So if they go after Lattimore and ultimately land him, you see what type of time the Chiefs are on. I mean, right now, the fact that they're even in this discussion tells you they're on demon time. They're not playing around. They're on straight demon time, and they're looking to go 3 straight, something no other team has ever done. So there are going to be a number of suitors for Marshawn Lattimore in his services. I've said this already on numerous platforms. Marshawn Lattimore is an intriguing player, but here's the thing you have to realize. I don't mind the money. $18 million this year, $18 million next year, or the next 2 years rather, and then whatever's left on his contract from a financial standpoint this year. And you might even be able to get the Saints to eat some of the money from this year. But the next 2 years, $18 million for a high-level star NFL corner, $18 million is a drop in the hat at the cornerback position. That's not the issue. The issue is the man is rarely healthy. That is the biggest problem with Marshawn Lattimore, and that's what I've been trying to convince people of. Hey, he's a name, and it's a damn good one when healthy, but the problem is, when is he healthy? When is he healthy? When is he actually contributing? And the last thing I know fans of teams looking to make a deal want is a player to come over, and then 2 weeks later, he's nursing an injury, and he's out. He's got a hamstring. He's out for a month. That nothing pisses you off more than trading for a guy and not feeling like you're getting the worth. You're not getting the value out of the deal. And that's the thing. And that, I think that's going to be the hiccup for a lot of teams with Lattimore is, hey, we're eating this money. We got to give up draft capital, and we're doing it in good faith, essentially blindly, right? Nobody knows what the future holds when you trade for a player, but you want your payoff to be like what the 49ers got from the Christian McCaffrey trade with the Panthers, right? McCaffrey literally, he was the catalyst that powered them to the Super Bowl last year, right? That's what you want. Now, he hasn't played this year, right? But that's the risk you take. But you want that kind of payoff. And you can't be certain with a guy like Lattimore who just isn't healthy, right? So something to keep in mind. A name that's starting to also circulate. Let's see. This is from Ian Rappaport, literally seconds ago. And so it's a 2-piece tweet. He says, while nothing has been agreed to or finalized, talks centered around Saints star cornerback Marshawn Lattimore have picked up over the last few hours, sources say. The Chiefs have been in it. The Commanders have also made a hard push. There are at least 2 other teams. Rappaport then goes on to say, a few weeks ago, it appeared the Commanders would be in wait-and-see mode, but their window has opened sooner than anticipated, and they are active trying to take advantage of their opportunity. Like I told you, I fully expect Chef P to be working the phones. Now, does something get done? He's not going to bend over backwards to make a move. He's not going to compromise the future of this team for now, which you shouldn't. But if an opportunity presents itself, and this is the thing when you have multiple teams in a situation, it turns into a bidding war, and that price might go a little bit higher than you're willing to pay, right? So that's something to keep an eye on as we continue to move forward. But um, at the end of the day, good. I'm seeing y'all saying Rio is back. That's great news. Um, I hope that's the case. If that is the case, that is excellent news. I'm about to just text him real quick. Give me a second. Um, um, that's great news. I hope y'all ain't BSing me. Um, KJ Osborne, excuse me, is another name to keep an eye on. There are a number of teams that are looking for um, receiver help, and I've thrown out Kendrick Bourne. If I'm a team that needs wide receiver help, I'd go to New England. I'd see what it would take. It should take a low level pick, a sixth or seventh round pick to get um, Kendrick Bourne away from the Patriots. I think he's a player that can help a team that needs wide receiver help. Um, I don't know where KJ Osborne is. He was with the Vikings for a number of years. I think he signed somewhere else. Matter of fact, we can find out right now where he is. Let's see, KJ Osborne. He is in New England as well. So I'd go to the New England store. There's some intriguing stuff there, right? KJ Osborne, Kendrick Bourne. I'd go there and see what is available. Um, so apparently everybody is saying that his channel is back. And Rico just said it was back. So if Rico says it's back, then it's back. That what a blessing that is, man. I don't know what the hell was going on with that situation. That's some scary shit, though. I can tell you that much. So I'm glad that his channel. All right, cool beans. Yeah. So just got the confirmation from Rio. He's back like cook crack. Thank God. So that's a blessing right there. Whew. Disaster averted there. So anyhow, um let's talk about some deals that did get done, and we'll continue to stay heavy on all the rumors, anything that's going on, because if you're the Saints, you can't sit idle at this deadline. You have to make some moves. I think you gotta put yourself in a position to really start the rebuilding process. You're going to be looking for a new coach. Obviously, you fired Dennis Allen. You're going to be going in a totally different direction. My guess would be you need to go ahead and try to give your general manager Mickey Loomis as much ammunition this offseason as humanly possible. And so I think that would be something that you need to look at. There was a rumor circulating that the Seahawks might be open to trading DK Metcalf. That's crazy talk. I don't understand, if you're Seattle, what sense that makes for you. You may not have your quarterback of the future on your roster, and if I were you, I would give Sam Howell a spin just to see what he can do. We know Geno Smith isn't the future there in Seattle. He just had a 3-interception game, really hurt you, even though he took you down the field and gave you a shot to get to overtime. He still hurt you in that game. That pick six was a backbreaker in that game. It changed everything. Even if you just walk away with a field goal on that possession, you're probably going to win that game, right? So um, I wouldn't be so hasty to say that the quarterback isn't there, but you got to find out. But trading DK Metcalf doesn't, help you if you're the Seattle Seahawks. So I didn't see that one happening, and that's pretty much been put to bed. That's not going to take place, nor should it. All right. Um, let's get to some deals that have taken place today, and there've been some surprising moves, to say the least, and I'm actually shocked by one in particular. The fact that the um, the Dallas Cowboys traded for cornerback or wide receiver, excuse me, Jonathan Mingo is a shocking move to me. Jerry Jones on his radio program today hinted that the Cowboys were interested in making a move at the receiver position. And this is the thing, I do understand that the receiver position has been really disappointing for them this year. CeeDee Lamb is really the only receiver, and we talked about this already, right? CeeDee Lamb is the only receiver that they had this year that really was that scared teams. Brandon Cooks has been injured for most of the season, and I think obviously his best football is behind him now. He's on the downside of his career. They were hoping that Tolbert would take a massive step forward, and while he's had his moments, the Steelers game in particular, the moments have been too few and far between, and so they're really in a tough spot at receiver. But this is their own doing, right? They let guys walk that could have, been signed for relatively next to nothing. They've spent low-level draft picks on experimental wide receivers later in the draft. They ignored the running back position altogether in the draft. This is their own doing. They did these things to themselves, right? Their inability to stop the run consistently. They went into the draft knowing that they could not stop the run and that they needed defensive tackle help. And they still said, oh, we got Mozzie Smith last year in the first round. We should be fine. Oh, okay, cool. How's that working out for you? So everyone's, just absolutely filleting the Cowboys. And so uh, so I'm sorry, you guys. So let's see. What was I about to say? I think I'm sidetracked. So, all right, back to what I was saying. So the Cowboys have been getting filleted for this deal that they completed earlier with the Carolina Panthers. The Dallas Cowboys surrendered a 4th-round pick to the Carolina Panthers in the upcoming 2025 draft. In exchange, the Cowboys received wide receiver Jonathan Mingo and 7th round and a 2025 7th-round pick. So essentially a pick swap, a 7th for a 4th, and the Cowboys received Mingo as well. So people are killing them for this deal, mainly because Mingo has done next to nothing in the NFL, and I think that has really led a lot of people to say, "What the hell are you doing? Like, you guys are 3-5. You suck. You're not doing anything this year. What do you give?" Like, I think it begs the point of, didn't you give up a 4th-round pick last year? Like, you could have used a 4th-round pick in this year's draft to draft a running back, to draft a better receiver, to draft a better defensive tackle. You could have used a 4th-round pick, and instead you gave that to the San Francisco 49ers for Trey Lance. For what? What was the purpose of that? Right? Trey Lance isn't the quarterback of the future. And you could, convince yourself, well, they wanted to explore and see what Trey Lance could be. And it was worth giving up a 4th-round pick. Well, that 4th-round pick hurts, and Trey Lance isn't the answer. And now you're giving up another 4th-round pick to explore to see if Jonathan Mingo, the former 2nd-round pick out of Ole Miss, who has been very disappointing in the league in his first 2 years, can be the answer opposite of CeeDee Lamb. Jerry Jones said on the radio program that they really liked Mingo coming out of the draft, and now they're getting an opportunity to get an even closer look at him as they trade a 4th-round selection for him. And he's got 12 catches on the season this year, and it's been largely a non-factor in the Panthers' offensive attack since he was drafted. And so the Cowboys look to sort of breathe life into the former second-round pick. And this is what I will say in the Cowboys' defense, even though I don't agree with the deal necessarily. This isn't like a rental. This isn't like they went out here and traded for Deontay Johnson, whose contract is up next year, something this year. Mingo has 2 years remaining on his deal after this season. This is only his second year in the league. So they're in their mind's eye, this is a draft pick. You know, they're going to see what he can do the rest of this year, and they're trading a 4th round pick to essentially check the temperature of a guy that they thought had high level talent last year in the draft, you know, when he was selected in 2023. And now they feel like they've got an opportunity to check the temperature of this kid, see if he can actually play. And if he can, well, they got him for the next 2 years on a rookie deal. And then if they need to re-up when it's all over, they can do that. So in their defense, this isn't a move that's a rental, right? Where you're just getting a guy to try to help push you over the top. That's not where the Cowboys are in their, season, right? They're 3-5 and they're fighting for their lives right now. They look more like I was about to say lottery, like this is the NBA. They look more like a top 10 pick team than they do a playoff team right now. However, if Jonathan Mingo turns out to be a good football player for them, then this trade will even itself out. Right now, they look to be on the short end of the stick. But again, his play can change all of that. But a lot of people harken back to the Trey Lance deal. When you gave up a 4th rounder, you sure could have used that 4th rounder this year to upgrade the running back position, to upgrade the receiver position, to upgrade the defensive tackle position. You didn't have it. Now you don't have another 4th round pick. Here you are investing in a player that, hasn't really done anything in the league to this point, much like Trey Lance. And you're going to see if you can this time strike gold. Last time you struck out. So, and then people are even taking it a step further and saying, you do realize that this is the second time you've traded more draft capital than what you got in return for trading away Amari Cooper. You do know that you're aware of this, correct? Right? You are aware that you only got a 5th round pick back for Amari Cooper, who's way better than Trey Lance and Jonathan Mingo. And so that's something else that people refuse to let the Cowboys forget about as well. Anyway, I digress. It's in. We got breaking news. Breaking news. The Washington Commanders are, in fact, trading for cornerback Marshawn Lattimore. That is the game-changing move that the Commanders need to put them in a position to compete at a high level. Now, the question is, this is from Tom Pelissero and Rap Sheet. The Saints are trading 4-time Pro Bowl cornerback Marshawn Lattimore to the Commanders. Sources tell me and Rap Sheet. So now the question is, what does the compensation look like? We are going to discuss this ad nauseum. As more information comes out, we will be all over this. And so this is the move, right? This is the move that me and other Commander fans have been talking about. If you're talking about a needle moving transaction, this is what I was referring to. You're either talking corner or edge rusher. I don't think the edge rusher market is really nice right now. And really, I think they like the guys that they have on the defensive line. I said corner is the one position that this team lacks the depth or the quality at. And if you're going to move the needle, if you're going to try and make something of this season, the cornerback position is where you can affect the most change, because what it does is it allows you to be a little bit more reckless with your play calls defensively. Now you can play man coverage. Now you can blitz. Now you can come after teams. Now you don't have to sit back. Now and now if you trust Marshawn Lattimore, and we'll see how well he holds up, right? But we know when he's at his best, he can play one-on-one against any wide receiver in the league. And yes, he's going to get beat. All corners do. He'll give up his fair share of plays, but he'll be there. He'll be in a position to make plays. And so that allows you to play single high safety. We've had issues stopping the run. You can now bring that other safety down into the box. You can take that other safety that's up top, and you can shade him on the other side to make sure that that receiver isn't getting one-on-one, and you say, Marshawn, you hold down the other side of the field by yourself. So you don't want to put him in that position. You want him to be able to play sticky coverage, be aggressive, knowing that he's help over the top. But the minute that you feel like you can't stop the run, now you're in a position to bring that safety down, and you don't have to be fearful that now I only got one high safety and he's got to pick a side. And if we pick the wrong side, we can get beat. Now you can say, hey, bring that safety down. Jeremy Chin, you go in the box. You go help stop the run. Quan Martin, you go down in the box. You go help stop the run. And we're going to take Marshawn Lattimore, isolate him on one side, and we're going to help Mikey Samer still on the other side with some help over the top. And now you don't have to worry about it, right? It allows you to be a little bit more aggressive in your play calling defensively, and it allows the pressure to get home. You know, how many times have we seen guys playing 7-10 yards off, balls thrown, 3-step drop, 5-step drop, 7-step drop, hell, even. And the ball's out, there's pressure, but the ball comes out and it's 3rd and 12 and it's a 15-yard completion. Those days are over, right? Because I like what I'm seeing out of Mike Samer still. Frozone his coverage is getting better and better as the weeks progress. And so now when you look on the other side, a lot of times when we give up those 3rd and long conversions, it's Benjamin St. Juice. It's Benjamin St. Juice who can't put the brakes on, right? Who can't stop and click and close and come back down. And so now this changes everything. This changes everything. Now, the question for me, if I were the Commanders, I'm going to tell you what I would do. I'd leave Mikey outside. I'd leave Noah Igbenogany inside, and I'd send Benjamin St. Juice to the bench. That's what I would do. Now, we've heard Dan Quinn over and over and over again talk about they ultimately want to move Mikey back inside. That's where they think his home is. So now the question becomes, which do you do? Because we heard Joe Witt Jr. say last week it's going to be hard to move Mikey away from outside corner because of how well he's playing. And I agree. I don't think that Benjamin St. Juice should still be on the field unless you have to put him on the field. And so in my mind's eye, I keep Mikey outside. I keep Noah Igbenogany inside. And I put Marshawn Lattimore opposite of Mike Samer still. And that's what I'm rolling with. That's the group I'm rolling with. And now you have depth. If you have to go to your bench, if you have to bring in Benjamin St. Juice, cool, right? Cool. But until I have to, he's on the bench now, right? That's how I would go. That's how I would operate if I were the Commanders moving forward. That's how I would go about it. But that's a big move. I thought Adam Peters would be very aggressive here with what this team has done and looking at, and this is why I think you're going to see more teams be aggressive. I don't think this is the last trade we'll see today. Not necessarily from the Commanders, but I'm just talking about overall in general. I don't think this is the last deal you're going to see. I think you're going to see more teams because look around the NFL. Look at the landscape. I really, truly believe that anybody can win the Super Bowl this year. Now, again, I say that loosely because in the AFC, it's still the Chiefs, it's still the Ravens, it's still the Bills, right? Those are the 3 teams that feel like they have a realistic shot over there. And then in the NFC, you look around and look, it's Detroit and then it's everybody else. So to me, when you look around at the landscape of the NFL, it's wide open because if Detroit somehow gets upset and they don't make it to the NFC Championship game, who's stopping you, right? Like, that's the only team. If I'm a Commanders fan, the only team that looks like that puts any type of fear in my heart as a Commanders fan is the Detroit Lions in the NFC. Every other team in the conference, I look at them and say, oh, you can get got. You can be beat. The Detroit Lions are the only one. So if you're Cincinnati, you like, just let me get into the playoffs. They've proven in past years that they can win on the road in the postseason. Let me just get in the playoffs. That's why they made the move for Khalil Herbert. I talked about they're not getting enough out of their run game. They're not getting enough out of their run game. And it's putting a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow. Khalil Herbert, that's a quiet, sneaky move. We'll talk more about that later. But if you talk about a move that changes the landscape of the NFC. This move, Marshawn Lattimore to the Commanders, is exactly that because of what it means for that team. The biggest weakness on the Commanders roster is the cornerback position. And so you look at this defense that has been up and down this season. And you think about the biggest reasons as to why they've been up and down. One week it's the run defense, the next week it's the pass defense. Some weeks it's both, as it just was against the Giants. Couldn't stop the run in the first half, couldn't stop the pass in the second half. The two are tied together and joined at the hip. The two are tied together and joined at the hip. Because a lot of times, the way Washington plays defense, they're going to either be outnumbered in the box or they're going to be, the numbers are going to be even in the box. And someone's got to win a one-on-one matchup to go make a tackle. Either way, you're not at the advantage that you would like to have because you're playing with those two high safeties. Most teams want to stop the run with two high safeties if they can. We didn't have a choice. We have to find a way to stop the run with two high safeties, or else we're putting our corners, who are the weakest link of our team, we're putting them at risk. We're exposing them. So now, with this situation, that's no longer the case. You're not exposing your corners. You're exposing one corner, but you trust him in man-to-man coverage. Now we have a guy that we think can cover A.J. Brown, right? We got a guy that we think can cover CeeDee Lamb. That was our biggest issue, is when we play those teams with elite number one wide receivers, we don't have a guy. We don't have an answer. We didn't have an answer for A.J. Brown. We didn't have an answer for CeeDee Lamb. We don't have an answer for Malik Neighbors. Now you do. And this should not stop you from drafting a corner next year in the draft, if at all possible. This should not prohibit you from drafting a corner, right? Tackle is probably still the number one need. My guess would be tackle. And we'll see what how Coleman, continues to progress. But tackle still feels like it's pretty high on the list. Corner still at the top of the pile for me, right? Edge rusher still at the top of the pile. These are things that are going to be necessary next year. But if Lattimore comes in and plays the type of football that we know we are capable of, then you have your number one corner for the next 2 seasons, because he's under contract for the next 2 years. He's under contract for 2025 and 2026. And if you don't like what you see and you want out of the contract after this season, there's an out. Now you're going to eat some money, but there's an out, right? But he's physical. He plays the brand of football that we play. He's nasty. He's no nonsense. And he's been one of my favorite corners. If you've followed me for any amount of time, then you know how I've felt about Marshawn Lattimore. So let's get the particulars. I think the particulars are now out. Let's see if I'm gonna just hit social media. I was waiting for it to get updated, but let's get to the particulars. This is what happens when you got one of them ones. Everything gets escalated. Hold on a second. I want to see what Matthew Paris. He used to cover the Commanders. He covers the Saints now. I want to see what he has to say about this deal. Because he covers the Saints. And all right. All right. So here is the full compensation. The New Orleans Saints will receive a third round pick, a fourth round pick, and a sixth round pick in 2025. The Commanders will receive Marshawn Lattimore and a fifth round selection. So let me repeat that. The compensation for this deal, the Washington Commanders will trade a third round, a fourth round, and a sixth round pick in 2025 for cornerback Marshawn Lattimore and a fifth round selection. So we had no fifth round picks. We had 2 third rounders. So we still have a third. Remember, we got an extra third in the Jahan Dotson trade. I think we had 2 sixes, if I'm not mistaken. I think we had 2 sixes. I think we had 2 threes and 2 sixes, right? So you trade one of your sixes, one of your thirds, and you give up your fourth. You do not have a fourth round pick any longer, but you now have a fifth, right? So that is the extent of the deal. Commanders get Marshawn Lattimore and a 2025 fifth round selection. And the New Orleans Saints get a 2025 third, fourth, and sixth round selection in exchange. Seems good to me. I knew it was going to take. You're talking about a star, high-level, number 1 NFL cornerback. That's a premium position. We're not talking about a third wide receiver. We're not talking about, and again, you also have to keep in mind, he's on a very affordable contract for the next 2 seasons. So these are things that you have to take in. Now, again, the pushback to that is hasn't been healthy. Hasn't been healthy. So that's the pushback to that is he hasn't been healthy. But if you're talking about a guy that can move the needle, this is what I was referring to when I say I need a needle moving deal or I'm not doing it. I'm not just doing stuff just to do stuff. Let's see. Wowzers. All right. So that's the first big domino today to fall. We've seen a number of trades, but none bigger than that. I don't think you're going to see a trade bigger than that as well. We're going for it, folks. We're going for it. And why the hell not? Why not us? I've been talking. I told you guys, let's talk reckless. Start using the SB word. The P word is in the bag. We're going to the playoffs. That's a given at this point. As long as 5 is upright and he's healthy, we're going to the playoffs. Let's win this division and let's start talking reckless. And I'm looking at that number 1 seed and I'm saying, why not us? You know, the Lions play in a treacherous division. As long as we take care of our division, we got teams like the Saints and the Titans on our schedule. We take care of our division. We sweep Dallas. Right? If this news coming down today about Dak Prescott being put on IR, that means he'll miss the Commanders game. I wanted to bust his shit. I ain't even gonna front. I wanted him out there. You take these ass whoopings. Y'all suck. I don't want y'all. I don't want no excuses. I don't want Cowboys fans having revisionist history like 2 years. Oh, Dak got hurt that season. Nah, bullshit. You were 3-5 before he got hurt. You were ass already. And I wanted to bust they shit before Dak wasn't healthy, right? Because I want to. He needs to take these L's in the division. I want to hear this. Oh, well, Dak is, 20-6 in the. I want to hear that shit. Take these L's in the division, but that's okay. We're going to bust they shit twice. Now you got to find a way to get Philadelphia at least once. You go 5-1 in the division. You take care of the teams like the Saints and the Titans like you're supposed to. We talking 13, 12, no less than 12 wins, right? We talking no less than 12 wins. You beat Pittsburgh. You find a way to beat Atlanta. Again, you could be talking 13 wins. Got to take care of the division first, though. First and foremost. That's what matters the most. This is going to help you do that because our biggest weakness within this division was defending A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, and Malik Neighbors. Now you can do that. Because I really think Mike Sainristil can cover, or at least he can fight and stay with and make him work Devontae Smith. I think he can run with him, and he can play with him. He can be physical with him. He gonna make it tough on him. So you telling me that we got 2 corners and we got a nickel who ain't no bitch? I like our chances. I like our chances a lot to come out of the NFC. And I'm looking at Detroit, and they play a brand of football that is hellacious, and they're going to be around, and they're going to be tough to beat. But I can see them. Look, they play a tough schedule. They won their division. They play a tough schedule. They still got Houston on their schedule. They got to play Green Bay again. They got them in Detroit the next time, but they still got to play them, right? And that's family business. Don't matter where the game is. They got Chicago twice. Still family business. They got Minnesota again, right? So they got some tough games still on their schedule. They also got some layups, though, right? I don't think they used up their Tennessee Titan yet. Right? I don't think they used their Jacksonville Jaguar up yet. So they still got some games that they're going to probably win more likely than not. But when I look at the Lions, they could drop one or two, and that might be all we need. We'll see. But let's worry about our division first. This is a huge step in putting yourself in a position to win this division. This is a massive step, because the first thing you got to do as a team is win your division. And the thing that used to stop us from competing at a high level in this division is we didn't match up with the teams in our division well. We didn't match up in our division well with the other teams. Everybody else in the division that stands for the Giants had a good quarterback. Everybody in the division had a mobile quarterback except us. Now we got a mobile quarterback, and we got the best quarterback in the division. Everybody in the division had an elite receiver. We had one of those. And everybody had a corner that could cover said receiver, or at least one of them. We didn't have one of those. Now we do, right? We don't have the elite pass rusher. We don't have the Micah Parsons. Everybody else in the division had somebody. Eagles had Hassan Reddick. Cowboys had or have Michael Parsons. And the Giants now have Brian Burns, and they got Dexter Lawrence. We don't have any of that. But as a collective, as a group, I like our chances to get after the quarterback, to be able to stop the run. Now you add in a Marshawn Lattimore, and this changes everything. Everything. And that was the move that I didn't think could happen for us. I didn't know if there was going to be an available corner the caliber of a Marshawn Lattimore available until the Saints flamed out. You would have asked me this 4 weeks ago. There's no way in hell Lattimore is going to be available because the Saints aren't going to bottom out. A month later, the Saints are 2-6. Their season has spiraled out of control. They just lost to the Carolina Panthers. It's over. They fire their coach, and now Marshawn Lattimore is a member of the Washington Commanders. And I wonder what number he's going to wear. He's been 23 his entire career. Wait, Chris Rodriguez is 23, right? Am I tripping, or is C-Rod 23? I don't think there are any 20 numbers available in Washington. Something's got to be done, right? Something's got to be done. I don't know what his number was in college. Maybe it was 2. De'Ami Brown's 2, right? We got to figure something out. Or did De'Ami switch to 1? I think De'Ami's 2 still. We got to find him a number. We got to get him a number. I don't know what we're going to do for a jersey number here. And then another question is, what's the ripple effect here from a cornerback standpoint? Because somebody's got to go to open up this space. I think you got to try to trade Emmanuel Forbes Jr. I don't want to cut anybody. I want to trade Emmanuel Forbes and see if I can't recoup a 7th round pick or something for him. Like, just get something for his ass. He's clearly not a part of the future here in Washington. Get something for him. Somebody's got to be like, yo, this kid's talented. We liked him in college. Somebody's got to be interested. Flip Emmanuel Forbes for a 6th or 7th round pick. Like, get something for him and move on. That's my feeling right now. It'd be great if you can get a 5th for him. Like, hey man, he's a former number 1 overall. I mean, former 1st round pick. And he's still got 2 years left. And if you pick up his 5th year option, he's still got 3 years left on his rookie contract. Come on, man. Work with me here. Give me a 5. Get something. But we'll see what happens. If they don't trade him, then somebody's got to be cut. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a corner, but you'd like to think it's going to be a corner, right? You'd like to think it's going to be a corner. And if I had to guess, it'd probably be, Michael Davis at this point, just off the strength of he's not playing. While he's a core special teamer right now, you can live without him, right? So let's see what happens. So Washington, just to be specific, Washington gave up the third rounder they got in the Jahan Dotson trade. And I wonder if they phrased it, whichever one is the lowest of the two, right? Like if we end up going to the NFC Championship game and the Eagles end up getting eliminated in wild card weekend, obviously the higher of the two picks would be the Eagles pick. You would get our pick instead. I wonder if that's the language in there, or if they just gave them one or the other. And then we gave them back their pick, right? We traded John Ridgeway to them for a 6th-round pick, and we just gave them back their John Ridgeway 6th-round pick. Okay, so you see what type of time we on over here, man. Using other people's capital to get what we need and what we want. So all right, so we got another big trade. I told you we weren't done. Another big deal. Mike Williams, Jets wide receiver, former Jets wide receiver Mike Williams has been traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. I figured the Steelers, they had been rumored to get a receiver this entire time, and they were hot on the trail of Jacksonville Jaguars receiver Christian Kirk, and then he fractures his collarbone, which took him off the market. They didn't want Deontay Johnson back. Obviously, he went to Baltimore. We saw Amari Cooper go to Buffalo. DeAndre Hopkins went to Kansas City. The Steelers had to do something. You see the arms race in the AFC, right? You see what the Chiefs have done. You see what the Ravens have done. You see what everyone's doing. Even the Jets, who aren't totally out of this thing, traded for Devontae Adams. You see what everyone's doing. You got to do something, right? It's an arms race. Just like Detroit. Detroit said, this is our window. This is our opportunity. They didn't need anything before the injury to Aiden Hutchinson. He goes down. Now we need something, and they went out and got it. This is the year, right? You think you can win? Go make it happen. Don't sit on your hands. The Steelers have not been this good since Ben Roethlisberger, second to last season, when they started the year off, I think, 10-1 or something like that, 10-0, whatever it was, and then flamed out late and lost in wild card weekend to the Browns. That's the last time they were any good. They think they've got a shot to do damage this year. And why wouldn't you? Really good defense, run game's coming along. Russell Wilson is giving you a shot in the arm. Now you just need complementary pieces on offense. Here's one that can come in and help you right away in Mike Williams. We'll see what the compensation for that one is. And I don't think it's going to take a lot here. This could be a 5th-round pick, right? I don't see this one costing a whole heck of a lot, to be honest with you. So it's a 5th. Look at that. Your boy is nice. Your boy is bad over here, man. 5th-round pick. It's a 5th-round pick that it took to get Mike Williams. I didn't think it would take much. Didn't think it. That's why I said, if you're the Commanders, trade Emmanuel Forbes. It won't take much. It shouldn't take much. You don't want him. You don't need him. Especially if you're moving Benjamin St-Juste to the bench. You don't need him. I hope they're moving Benjamin St-Juste to the bench. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Noah Igbenogany in the slot and Frozone out wide. Leave it alone. Leave it as is. We'll see what happens. Wow. Wow. We got a day on our hands. I told you this. That's why I went live, because I knew this day in particular was going to be crazy, because I think teams realize what it is. Like, for years, the Patriots had a chokehold on the NFL. And it almost felt like LeBron-ish in the East, right? Like, you ain't making it out the East with LeBron over there. Like, you come on, stop it. You're not getting past LeBron. And on the west side of the bracket, you're not getting past the Warriors. So what are we doing here? You're just spinning your wheels in place. Stop it, right? Unless something happens, an injury happens, you're just spinning your wheels in place. Kind of felt like that in the NFL for a little while there with the Patriots. It didn't really matter who came out of the NFC. You're going to play the Patriots, more likely than not. Kind of feels like that now, but even the Chiefs don't feel like a certain, right? They don't feel like a given. They feel like a certain to make it to the AFC Championship game. When's the last time they didn't make it there, right? But they don't feel like a given to make it to the Super Bowl, especially with all the injuries that they've incurred this season. And, Mahomes is over here hurting his ankle. We didn't know for a 5-minute, span. We thought, oh my God, Mahomes might have just blown his Achilles. And if he did, that's it. The Chiefs are out of it. Who knows? Anything could happen. You just got to position yourself to take advantage, right? So let's stay current. I see a lot of people suggesting that they kick Samer still back inside. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do it. He's playing so well outside. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I'd leave him right where he is. I know they want to put him inside though. Like when they drafted him, they drafted him to be a nickel. And I'm not saying you don't move him back to nickel next year. I'm not suggesting that I'm just saying he's gotten comfortable out there and the coverage is sticky. Even when he gives up catches, it's sticky out there, man. I'm just saying the coverage early in the season from the slot wasn't sticky. It wasn't sticky. And maybe he would have adjusted and gotten better, but it wasn't sticky. This outside coverage is sticky, man. It's sticky. Noah Igbenogany is doing just fine inside. I'd leave it alone. I'd leave it alone. I wouldn't touch it. But we'll see what they decide to do. And if they decide to do it, to leave Juice on one side, Lattimore on the other side, and that's how this is the only thing I would say if you were to do that. This is the only thing I would say. It would allow Benjamin St-Juste to be more aggressive, which is his nature. He wants to be physical and aggressive at the line of scrimmage. It would allow him to do that, to play press coverage because he's got safety help over the top. He could be more aggressive to try to be more disruptive at the line of scrimmage. It allow him to do that. But there's ways around that. Bunch formations, motions, stacks. There's ways to get around his aggressive nature, right? And put him in positions where he can still be beat, which is why I would just take him off the field altogether. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you move Mikey inside, like we're not getting beat inside right now. When's the last time we've been beaten like a drum inside? Teams aren't attacking us inside. Noah Igbenogany inside isn't broken. So why are you looking to fix it? We can attack that in the offseason. You can move Mikey, give him a full offseason inside, and you can put him inside next year. And we can start that whole movement. You can draft you a corner, sign a corner in free agency, whatever, right? And then you can put Mikey inside next year when you got all the stuff you need to make it happen, right? It's not broke right now. I wouldn't fix it. Noah Igbenogany inside is just fine. Who's beating us inside? When's the last time you seen somebody gash us inside from the slot? When you go, man, Noah Igbenogany's killing us, man. He is killing us. Guys are killing him inside. I haven't heard a peep. Leave him inside. Leave Frozone outside. Stick Lattimore on the other side. Take Juice off the field. That's what I would do. We'll see what they decide to do. Whatever they decide to do, I'm gonna ride with it. I'm gonna ride with it. Whatever they decide to do. All right. Let's continue. Let's continue talking about some of these trades. Wow. I still can't believe we pulled this trade off. And Marshawn Lattimore is now a Commander. And like I said, over the last probably 5 years or so, Marshawn Lattimore has been my favorite corner in the league. And I'm not telling you by any stretch of the imagination that he's perfect. He's going to give some stuff up, but he's gritty, he's tough, he's physical, and he's going to play, right? And if you make a mistake, he's going to make you pay. That's another thing too. And this is what gets me excited about Lattimore. Again, if he can stay healthy, let me knock on a little bit of wood. Here's the exciting thing about Lattimore if he can stay healthy. When you come to a locker room, I told you the ecosystem that we've built. I talked about this on CNN last night. The ecosystem that we've built in Washington, or I talked about this on the day after show from yesterday. When you've built an ecosystem like the one Washington has cultivated this year, when you bring guys into that brotherhood, it changes them and it uplifts them and it forces them to take their game to another level. The standard changes. Lattimore comes in and he wasn't playing his best football in New Orleans. He wasn't. He's been dealing with injuries. There's a lot of things going on that were dysfunctional with that organization. And it's easy to get discouraged. We've seen it up close and personal with this organization last year. Because you can't tell me we didn't have enough talent to compete at a higher level than we did last year. We just didn't have the coaching staff. But when the situation is toxic, you're not going to get the most out of really good players. You're just not. It's a different vibe here in Washington. And I think Lattimore is the type of guy that's going to come in here. And I'm pretty sure he's got a relationship with Terry. They probably went to school, Noah Brown, all of them. They went to school together. So it's not like he doesn't know a lot of these players here in Washington. He knows quite a few of them, went to school with them. So he's going to come in here. He's going to fit in. And he's going to immerse himself in this culture. And I think you have a chance to get the best out of this dude. And you're going to see how much he can change our defense. You're going to see schematically what he can do for this defense. You can do a lot when you don't have to worry about one side of the field. You can do a lot. So let's talk about some of these other deals, and we'll keep checking to see if anything else pops. So we talked about the Steelers. We'll come back. We'll circle back around to the Steelers getting Mike Williams and what that means for them. They gave up a 5th-round pick to get Mike Williams. Obviously, the biggest deal of the day, the Washington Commanders trade for all-pro cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, 2025 5th-round pick also comes in the package for Lattimore. In exchange, the Saints will receive a 3rd, 4th, and 6th-round pick from the Commanders. The 3rd and the 6th-round picks were picks that the Commanders were able to pick up in trades this offseason. So they still have a 3rd. They still have a 6th. They just no longer have a 4th, but they now have a 5th-round pick as well. Talked about Jonathan Mingo. going to Dallas along with the 7th round pick in 2025. The Panthers receive a 4th round pick. That is a move that's a bit of a head scratcher on the surface. You did give up a lot. A 4th round pick, even though it's a pick swap, you're getting a 7th back in exchange, which makes it feel more like a 5th if you're doing the math at home. Still feels a bit rich for a guy who hasn't done much of anything in the league. But if you're Dallas, you're saying, hey, this is a big picture, type of move. Guy still has 2 years left on his rookie contract after this season. He's only in year 2 of his career. We think he can be the complement that we're lacking for CeeDee Lamb. And so this could turn out to be a really good move for Dallas, but it's a big risk. You've already risked a 4th round pick in the past trying to roll the dice on a guy's upside, and it didn't work out with Trey Lance. You could be doing the same thing here with Jonathan Mingo. Bengals trade for running back Khalil Herbert. Now, I'll always tell you guys this, and I've been saying this for years. Never, ever trust a man with 2 first names, okay? But I do like Khalil Herbert a lot. I don't trust him. He's got 2 first names, but I like him a lot. And I talked about this. How many times have you heard me say over the last 3 weeks when regarding Cincinnati, they don't get enough out of their run game? Boy, do they miss Joe Mixon. I've said that multiple times. This is further proof that they miss Joe Mixon. And Khalil Herbert can definitely help. He was kind of rotting away in Chicago with the addition of DeAndre Swift. They weren't using him as much. Now he's going to get an opportunity to play quite a bit and probably be the guy that takes some of the load off of Brown, who's been solid for them this year in Cincinnati. But I don't think they were really pleased with what they were getting out of Moss. He hasn't been very good for them this year, and Herbert is going to provide them with a much better spark than Moss has in Cincinnati. Chicago gets a 2025 7th round pick in the deal for Herbert. So that's a deal there that is a smaller deal, right? But I think could have an impact there if you are the Cincinnati Bengals. And I really think the Bengals are not a team that you can just kind of whisk away, right? I think their schedule is going to soften up a bit. I think if they can stay healthy, offensively, if T. Higgins can stay healthy, we know what they can be offensively. Burrow threw 5 touchdown passes this week against the Vegas Raiders. We know what Burrow does once the calendar turns to November and later on. So it looks like he's ready to kick it into high gear. They got a big one coming up against the Ravens, the Bengals, and they're gonna need to make a statement here. If you're gonna be around, if you're gonna turn your season around, you got to start winning some games, and you got to beat quality opponents. Can't beat up on the little sisters of the poor. You got to start beating some teams in that division. If you're going to try to make it to the playoffs, you're going to have to beat Pittsburgh. You're going to have to beat Baltimore, right? We'll see if they're able to do that. That Khalil Herbert deal may go a long way, a lot longer than maybe people think, in trying to help them do that. Another massive deal today. I think these are the 2 bigger deals that you'll see from today. Detroit Lions, who to me right now are the front runners to make the Super Bowl in the NFC. They bolster their roster and strengthen it. Their window is open now. And this is a championship trade right here. This is a championship caliber move. This is how you solidify and this is how you fortify your championship hopes. You lose an defensive player of the year candidate, an MVP candidate in Aiden Hutchinson. He was having that kind of a season, was Aiden Hutchinson. He was leading the NFL in sacks when he got injured. He's still top 5 in the NFL in sacks, and he hasn't played in 3 weeks. That's how well he was playing. You obviously miss his presence. And he could be back. They floated this around. Hey, we make it to the Super Bowl, Aiden might be able to come back. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's still out there. Same thing with Hollywood Brown and the Chiefs. Hey, we make it to the Super Bowl, he may be back. We'll see. But Zadarius Smith is now a Detroit Lion, along with the 2026 7th round pick. In exchange, the Browns receive a 2025 5th round pick and a 2026 6th round pick. So you have a pick swap in 26 of a 7th and a 6th, and then you get a 5th rounder in 2025 if you're the Browns, right? And Zadarius Smith is all yours. I mean, that's not a steep price to pay, but But again, you're talking about an older player, last year of his contract. It's a totally different situation than the one the Commanders just facilitated with the Saints in the Marshawn Lattimore deal. Obviously, 2 years left on that deal. Still in the prime of his career. It's a little bit different, right? On a very affordable contract, a little bit different. So the compensation is going to look a little bit different, right? Obviously, this was another quiet deal. The Cardinals, don't look now. Arizona Cardinals, first place in the NFC West at 5-4. Don't look now, right? Everybody keeps asking Commanders fans, well, who you beat? We beat the first place Arizona Cardinals. What about you? And we didn't just beat them, we drubbed them, right? The Cardinals are looking around and saying, shit, why not us, right? One of the biggest issues they have, remember when we played them, they can't get to the quarterback. They don't have one guy other than Dennis Gardeck that strikes any fear in your heart. They don't have anybody that makes you say, damn, we got to make sure we know where he is at all times, right? I thought they made a big mistake, and he got good money from Denver, but I thought they made a big mistake when they let J.J. Watt Light walk away. The kid from BC that they drafted, that's a damn good Allen, right? Now they have a guy that can get to the quarterback in Baron Browning, who they traded a 6th-round pick in 2025 with Denver to receive Baron Browning, who's going to come in and try to get after the quarterback. And Denver, you want to talk about an abundance of riches at the edge rushing position. Boy, the Broncos have guys for days, which is why they could make this move and trade away Baron Browning, because I already told you, the kid from Oklahoma that they drafted this past year, man, I love that dude. He could get after it, man. They got some stuff, do the Denver. And then they just gave somebody a deal, as a matter of fact. I don't remember which one of these edge rushers, but they just gave one of their edge rushers a long-term deal. So, boy, they got some stuff in Denver, and they could afford to give away Baron Browning, and they did for a 2025 6th-round pick. So that's a quiet move by Arizona, but that could help bolster their chances to not only win that division, but maybe even make a little bit of noise once the playoffs roll around. So let's stay on top of any other news that may be circulating, and we'll circle back to all of the news of the day, and really hammer home some of these moves that have been done. But let's circle back. Let's get some of y'all comments first, and then we'll circle back around. But let's get to the comment section and see what you guys have to say, and kind of talk about some of the moves that have been made. Thus far on this NFL trade. Like, this NFL trade deadline is starting to feel like the NBA. It's starting to feel like Major League Baseball. It didn't used to feel this way, right? It's changing because I think the landscape of the NFL is changing. Teams feel like they have a shot. JLG, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. JLG writes, thoughts on Dak going to IR? Look, if he's hurt, he needs to go to IR, go on IR, right? I mean, it's not a big deal. Look, he wasn't playing well. It's not like he was going to change this team's fortunes. He was a part of the problem. He wasn't playing well. Him turning to Trey Lance and saying, man, we effing ass, right? Or we effing suck. He was a part of the suck, right? He was a part of that. So I actually think that, I know this sounds crazy, but Cooper Rush might come in and he might actually help them. I don't think Cooper Rush is an upgrade over Dak long term, but in the short term, Dak couldn't move, right? Dak is slow as molasses now. He's a sitting duck back there. I think Cooper Rush can move better than he can. I think Cooper Rush, there were some throws in the game at the end of the Atlanta game where I went, damn, that was a good ass throw, Coop. Like, I'm a little bit more I wanted Dak because Dak is playing like ass right now. I'm actually disappointed that he's going on IR. Cooper Rush might be an upgrade right now. They won games in the past. Now, Dan Quinn is no longer there. That defense is no longer what it once was. But help is on the way. Michael Parsons will be back this week. Deron Bland probably will be back this week. just in time for the Eagles game. But, you know, it is what it is. Dak going on IR, it feels convenient. How convenient. I was looking to spanking that ass. But pause. Guess we're going to have to settle for Cooper Rush. You're putting a rush on me. Looks like we got to get to know him better. Better. We got to get to know Cooper Rush a little bit better. Put a little rush on him. We'll see what happens. Burger the Butcher, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Burger the Butcher, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, we got a cornerback, Lou. The wife is getting some tonight. Wait a minute, what? That last part threw me for a loop right there. That was a wicked curveball right there. I'm excited, just like you are. I'm excited about it. It's a big move, man. And again, I talked about needle moving moves. It had to be a needle mover, or I wasn't interested. You don't move the needle more than a guy like Marshawn Lattimore and what he's been able to do in this league and what he's capable of doing. Again, players like him totally change schematically what you can and can't do. The reason the Giants were able to run on us seemingly at will last weekend was because we refused to get out of our too high shell. I don't blame them because, again, what we don't want the Giants doing is feeling like they can take a shot. Make Daniel Jones nickel and dime their way because you just feel like he's going to make a mistake eventually. So keep letting them nickel and dime, right? What we don't want is to go single high, right? And all of a sudden now Darius Slayton gets a step on Benjamin St-Juste or Malik Neighbors gets a step on Benjamin St-Juste. Like, again, we saw it in the Bengals game, right? We had issues stopping the run the first 2 weeks of the season. So what did they do? They got aggressive. We went middle of the field close, single high free safety. And soon as Joe Burrow saw it, every time, he saw it twice in that game, and he went immediately to Jamar Chase for touchdowns, both times. And that's what you guard against. That's why you can't do that. Now you can. Now you can. It changes everything. Dave O from the 757. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lattimore, you think Mikey is going to slide back inside or BSJ? I don't know what they're going to do. I've already told you personally what I would do. And Joe Witt Jr. said it's going to be hard to move Mikey back inside right now. The goal ultimately is to move Mikey inside. That's what you drafted him to be, one of the best nickel corners in the NFL. And I think he can be that. And you can blitz him. You can do a lot with Mikey. And so I get why you want to move him back inside. I just wouldn't do it right now. If it's not broken, don't fix it now. We can fix it in the offseason, right? You can go out and get you a bona fide number 2 corner in the draft or in free agency, whatever you like, your choice, to pair with Marshawn Lattimore next year. And then you move Mikey back inside. All offseason, Mikey can work on his inside technique, watch film on some of the best nickel corners, see what they're doing, and then he can rededicate himself to being the best nickel he can be. Right now, he's been playing outside, and he's been doing a damn good job of doing it. Like I said, the coverage has been sticky. Gorilla Glue-like even. I'm not touching that. I'm leaving that just the way it is. I'm taking Benjamin St-Juste off the field. I'm leaving Noah Igbenogany inside in the slot. And I'm inserting Marshawn Lattimore, and I'm going to keep the ball rolling. Keep the party going. But they may opt to keep Juice outside, add Lattimore outside opposite of him, kick Mikey inside, and take Noah off the field. That wouldn't be what I would do. But if that's what they decide to do, cool. I know ultimately the goal is to get Mikey back inside. I just figured, why not wait till next year to do that? Why not wait till next year to do that? That's my mindset. And just so you know, Even if you take Juice off the field, we're not done with Juice this year. Juice is going to have to play again, right? We're not done with him. John Perez, my guy, JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, JP, writes, we got Lattimore. Let's go. Yeah, we got Lattimore, man. We got Marshawn Lattimore, and it's a big effing deal. A really big effing deal. Again, the kind that changes the entire landscape of the NFC East. And ultimately, it could be the deciding factor between this team, not only making the playoffs, but making some noise when they get there, or just making the playoffs and bowing out as soon as they get there. That's the difference that Marshawn Lattimore can make. He is to our team what Darius Slay has been for the Eagles. Slay allows the Eagles to do a lot of things defensively, and they had to go trade for him, right? They had to go get him. And he's allowed them to be aggressive in some of the coverages that they play, right? You can go help that second corner because I trust Darius Slay to hold it down on the other side. Now, Slay's getting up there in age. He's getting a little bit long in the tooth, but he's still, a dog-ass competitor on that side. And that's what a number one corner can do for you. Changes everything when you find that guy. Dave O from the 757. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, or you think BSJ could be on the bench? I would put him on the bench. And I wouldn't hesitate. And I would sit him down and I would talk to him and let him know, hey, look, we know we're gonna need you. So don't duck your head. Don't sulk. Right? I need you to stay engaged because we're gonna need you and you're gonna still play. So be ready. But I definitely send him to the bench without question. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ethan writes, AP just turned Dotson into Lattimore. This man ain't just cooking. He's roasting this league, man. Wow. Not to get ahead, but draft a wide receiver in round one now. And we'll see. We'll see when we get to the end of this season. We'll know exactly what the biggest need of this team is, whether it's tackle, whether it's receiver, edge rusher, another cornerback. And the beauty of it is we making the playoffs. So that's a late round draft pick. So, we're not going to be in a position to fawn over these top 15, type players, right? We know we're going to have to take the best of what's left. So, whatever, this is one of those situations where truly you say, hey, what does the board say? What kind of value are we truly getting here at fill in the blank pick? And we'll see what's available to us when we get there. But long way away from that. Like you said, you don't want to get ahead of yourself. Long ways away from that whole conversation, right? Long way away. So, all right, no other big moves so far. See. Yeah, nothing else right now. And there's just a shade over 2 hours left in this trade deadline. I don't think we're done. I think you might see one or two more moves being made. And I think you're going to see one more impactful move. I think you're going to see at least one more receiver be moved. I think the Chargers have to do something. If you're the Chargers, you cannot afford to stand pat. Whether you go out and you acquire you a real pass catching tight end, because we know how tight end heavy and tight end oriented God damn it, what is the name of their offensive coordinator? The one that was in Baltimore for all those damn years. Jesus, what is his name? I don't know why I'm blanking on his name, but we know how tight end heavy his offense is and how tight end dependent it is. Anytime I'm seeing Will Dissly with like 11 targets and 8 catches in a game, you have a problem. Okay. You do not have good enough tight ends. So they got to do something either at the tight end position or they got to upgrade. Like I'm seeing too much Semi Fioco at receiver. Like that's not okay. Okay. Greg Roman. Thank you, Jackson. Greg Roman. Right. Greg Roman's offense is predicated on getting the ball to the tight ends. So again, if you're the Chargers, you either got to upgrade the receiver position because right now it's Lad McConkey, and when he's healthy, a sprinkle of Quentin Johnston, right? But they got to do something. Either get you a low-level receiver to come in that mix and help you out, or get you an upgrade at the tight end position. And there's some guys that are available. If I'm the Chargers, you gotta be out here doing something, right? Just Andre, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Just Andre writes, "Bye, Juice. Won't have to see him on the field. Let's F and go. Don't be so quick to make that decision. We'll find out just how they plan on utilizing Marshawn Lattimore in terms of who they're taking off the field. We know this for a fact. Mike Samer still ain't coming off the field. We do know that. That's the only thing that we know. The question is Noah Igbenogany coming off the field? That's the $1 million question. Because if he's coming off the field, that means Mikey's sliding inside, Juice is staying outside, and Lattimore is going to go outside. So that's the $1 million question. Is Noah Igbenogany staying on the field? If he's staying on the field, then Juice is coming off the field. Because Mikey ain't coming off the field. We know that for a fact. So we'll find out here shortly. Sean Moorer, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Sean Moore writes, "It was specifically said to be our pick in the third, not the one that belongs to Miami." All right, so that's a good thing because Miami stinks, and that's going to be a high draft pick in the third round. We wanted to give our pick away. We're going to have a pick towards the back end closer to 100, right? Our pick is going to be closer to 100 than the Miami pick that we got from Philadelphia, which is going to be much closer to the 60s, right? You think about it, the end of the second round is at pick 64. Miami's going to be picking somewhere right now if things continue, and I'd like to think Miami's going to win some games as this season progresses. They're getting close to winning games against quality opponents. Tua's back and he's playing well. They're going to end up with 6 or 7 wins, probably when it's all said and done. Miami will, right? But that's a lot better draft position than us ending up with 12, 13 wins, winning 2 playoff games, and being in the NFC Championship game and having the 28th pick in the draft. Dolphins might end up with the 11th pick in the draft. There's a big discrepancy between the two. So that's a really good distinction there, Sean, that it's our pick, not Miami's. And look, it's Chef P, man. We already know how he cooks. We already know how he do it. He wasn't going to give them the better of the two. I'm already giving you a 4th and a 6th on top of it. You're not getting the better of the 2/3. Come on. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, "So excited watching AP build this team, man. The minute we got him as our general manager, I told y'all, shit's about to change. The way we used to conduct business is out the window, and watching him assemble the staff that's around him, getting guys like Chase Blackburn from Baltimore and getting Lance Newmark from Detroit, and just seeing how he was putting the pieces of this puzzle together, I was like, man, this shit's finna be crazy. This is about to be crazy. Just seeing how he was building this bully. I say, yeah, it's only a matter of time. And I couldn't have imagined. I'm not gonna sit here in front and have revisionist history. I couldn't have imagined that Jaden Daniels would be this good. A lot of people are like, I knew he was gonna be this good. Okay, more power to you. I didn't. I said he's got a high floor, but his ceiling ain't but so high. That was my stance, right? Drake May's ceiling is higher than his. That was my stance. Caleb Williams' ceiling, his floor is higher than Caleb Williams and Drake May. Like he's gonna, he's not gonna be a bust. Those two could be busts, right, in the NFL. Jaden Daniels won't be, but his ceiling ain't higher than those dudes. That was my stance. Boy, was I wrong. And I already gave up a 00 for that. Like, bro, I was way wrong. His ceiling is way higher than either one of those two dudes. Especially Drake May. It's not even close. I had no idea how talented this dude really truly was. It's ridiculous. And now seeing what he is has expedited this process. We're not sitting here talking about getting Marshawn Lattimore in a trade if Jaden Daniels isn't doing the things that he's done to this point in the season. It's amazing. So, let's continue checking. Let's hear what Jaden Daniels' window is wide open for the big time trade. Here's the details. Multi-year Pro Bowler Marshawn Lattimore, whose name has been included in trade discussions. It seems done for more than a year. He now goes from the New Orleans Saints. Yeah, they ain't talking about nothing. All right. So I see they already on social media trying to I think they already trying to discredit the move, talking about Marshawn Lattimore and he been getting cooked and this, that, and the third. Oh, okay, cool. Just like Terry been cooking Darius Slay for years. Whatever. Corners, what you think? Corners don't get beat in this league? They get beat all the time. He's way better than anything that we have or have had in Washington at the cornerback position for a very long time. So, to hell what anybody is talking about with the move. We got us a really good piece to upgrade our secondary, which is massive for us because that was the weakest link of our team. And I know some people are like, man, that's a steep price to pay for Marshawn Lattimore. I'm going to just tell you that you already had to know it wasn't going to be cheap to get a player that caliber at that premium of a position, but we had the capital to do it. We finessed other teams for an extra third and an extra six, and all we did was flip those picks. The only thing we gave up that was ours was a fourth, right? That's it. That's it. So let me just tell you this. If somebody is going out of their way to tell you that this move is trash, it's because they're scared. That's what evokes that type of emotion. When you go out of your way, nobody's paying you any attention. Nobody's bothering you. You go out of your way to make it known that, hey, y'all trash. This move garbage. Guess what? That's fear talking. You smell that shit from a mile away. I love the stench of fear first thing in the morning. I love it. You can smell it. It's a strong, pungent odor. I love it. Fear. Haven't smelt that in a while. When it comes to us, haven't smelt that aroma of fear. But it's fear, and I like it. I like it a lot. I love it, as a matter of fact. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Swaggy P, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, LB already hating on the Lattimore move, shaking my head. What did I just tell you? I hadn't even seen this message from you. this super chat from you, but you know what that smell is? You know what that aroma is? Fear. Say it with me. Remember Gold Dust used to go, Dust. Remember that? Remember that? Let's do it together. Fear. The new fragrance. The new fragrance by the Commanders. Fear. Right? That's what we inducing out here. That's the new fragrance. Fear. We can spray it on all the teams in the division, all the teams in the conference. Go ahead and hit the Eagles fans with a couple squirts of that fear. Hit them with a little bit of that. Right here. Right under the neck. Hit them a couple times right here on the wrist with a little bit of that fear. And then just let it fumigate. All right. So when they walk by, oh yeah, that's fear. They scared. You smell that? Yeah, that's fear. I smell it. Yeah. So you know when the hater walk by and you smell that smell, you know what it is. It's fear. Go ahead and hit them with a couple pumps of that fear. Patrick Starr with blonde weave. What are we doing here? Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, what the Cowboys doing? LOL. Look, man, I told y'all this on the podcast, 2-3 weeks ago. I need Jerry Jones to live to 180, right? I told you I want to freeze him. I want to freeze him. Let his son take over for the next 30 years. And then once he starts to get to his expiration date, thaw Jerry back out and put Jerry back in charge. I need the Joneses to continue to run this shit into the ground. They do a phenomenal job. Better than any. Jerry said nobody can run the Cowboys better than he can. He's correct. Nobody can run the Cowboys into the ground better than he can. Please continue. Don't ever stop and don't ever change. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mr. Pink writes, they didn't knock. They kicked down the goddamn door. JP Finley, I like that Forbes wasn't included in the trade for Lattimore. He's a good teammate. I tell you what. I don't care about Forbes. Like, if you could have included Forbes in the deal and held on to your 4th round pick, I would have rather them have done that. I don't care about somebody being a good teammate. You can get other good teammates that actually serve a purpose, that actually play special teams, that actually do something that contributes to the team other than building team morale. You want a cheerleader? Go get a hype man. We got the dude that wear the chain around his neck, Mbusi, the big guy that's in our pathway program, right? That always got that chain link around his neck. The one that I asked y'all when Frankie was hyping up the team. I was like, who that dude that had the chain around his neck? I know who it is now. He a hype man. You want a hype man? Go get one of them dudes. I don't need a good teammate. I want good teammates. Don't get it twisted. But serve a purpose. If you can get something for Forbes, get something for Forbes. Because we can sit here and talk all the shit we want about Michael Davis. At least he plays special teams. At least he does that. I'm not telling you he's great at it. At least he plays special teams. Forbes don't even do that. If you can trade Emmanuel Forbes, trade Emmanuel Forbes Jr. ASAP. ASAP. B-Rat, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. B-Rat writes, maybe I missed something. Isn't Lattimore was hurt. Isn't he hurt or was he hurt? I'm not sure what his status is. Look, I can tell you this much. If I'm playing on a garbage team and I know that there's a chance I can get traded, you know what I am? I'm hurt. How hurt was Devontae Adams when the Jets got him? How hurt was he? I'll wait for your answer. Because he damn sure seemed like he was ready to go when he got to the Jets. They traded for him on a Wednesday. Wait, matter of fact, the Jets lost on a primetime game. I think on a Sunday night. Or was it a Monday night? It was a Sunday night, lost to the Steelers. They lost on Sunday Night Football to the Steelers. By Monday, Aaron Rodgers was on Pat McAfee show. And if I'm not mistaken, Monday, it might have been Tuesday. I think he shows up on the Pat McAfee show on Tuesdays. And Devontae Adams was already a member of the Jets because he pretty much brought him out when he was on doing the show with McAfee. So, and he played that Sunday, the next week. So, yeah, I don't know what his situation is. When we signed Noah Brown wasn't healthy, completely healthy. So, I don't worry about that too much, whether he is or isn't or whatever the case may be. I want to know what we can do to help him. Like, if we can get him here, keep him healthy, and look, he's gonna come in this building, and he's gonna be energized by the energy in our building, and it's gonna change everything. That's the hope. That's the hope. Gear Cell 1. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, all the social media goons and haters can brush their teeth with Colgate. These nuts. There's gonna be a lot of haters out there. I told you what I smell. I smell fear. That new fragrance from the Commanders. Fear. I love it. If you don't have haters, you ain't doing nothing. Right? You ain't doing nothing if you don't have haters. If you got haters, you doing something right. We didn't have haters last year when we were 4-13. When we were in the midst of a 7, 8, 9, 10 game losing streak. We didn't have haters because didn't nobody give a shit about what we was doing. We had people laughing at us. You ain't have haters. You only collect haters when you're doing something right. Just understand that. You want to be in this position. That's why we smell fear. B-Rat, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, my bad, I meant currently hurt. I know what you meant. I don't recall seeing him in the game against the Saints. I just watched that Saints game against the Panthers. I don't recall seeing him in the game against the Panthers. That doesn't mean he wasn't in the game. I don't recall seeing him. And he's a hard guy to miss. So my guess is he's currently out of the lineup, but I think he's fine. Like, if I got an ankle, yeah, my ankle still hurts. We're 2-5. My ankle still hurts. Gets to Washington, man, my ankle feels a lot better now. Thanks. We had a lot of guys at the end of last year. Man, my wrist hurt. Man, my ankle is killing me. When things aren't going well and you see that there's no light at the end of the tunnel, what exactly am I busting my ass for again? He's an established player in this league. He ain't somebody that's trying to make a name for himself, trying to get to that payday. He's already an established player in this league. So I can't speak to what his situation is. I do know that he's dealt with an assortment of injuries over the last 2-3 years. I do know that. And I also know that when he's healthy, he's one of the best. So our job is to get him where he needs to be the type of player we need him to be for us to, to max out our expectations of what we can be. We took the weakness, the biggest weakness of our roster, and we turned it into the least of our worries now. Let's just put it that way. We can't say that we turned it into a strength. We got to see what it looks like. I got to see what they do, because I think you could turn it into a strength if he's healthy and he's playing the kind of football that I've known Marshawn Lattimore to play over the life of his career, and then you leave Frozone outside and you keep Noah Igbenogany inside, I think you got a chance to turn the cornerback position into a strength. I think you got a chance to turn the cornerback position into a strength. But if they leave Juice on the field, move Mikey inside, we'll see what it looks like. We'll see. Jamal Hamlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Jamal Hamlin writes, Lou, I'm cooking up my dinner, but AP cooking them boys. Not only did we get Lattimore, but he actually wants to come here. He wants to play with a winner. When you get to a certain point of your career, you sick and tired of dealing with losing. You just want to play meaningful football again. And I get that. There was a reason that guys didn't want to be in Washington no more. You get tired of losing. That's not fun. Football is fun. Sports are fun when you're winning. How many times we heard Terry McLaurin say, man, I'm having the most fun of my career? How many times you heard Sam Cosmi say, I'm having the most fun of my career? Winning is fun and it's infectious. And this is the difference now. I'm pretty sure Marshawn Lattimore wanted to come here and others wanted to come here as well. You don't think these players are directing their agents towards, specific locations? You don't think DeAndre Hopkins was like, yo, trade me, get me to Kansas City. I want to go to the Chiefs. I want a chance to win a Super Bowl. You don't think that's where he wanted to go? He could have had options. He could have said, nah, get me to Pittsburgh. Get me to the Steelers. Nah, that ain't my best shot at winning the chip. Get me to Kansas City. It's different now. We got one of them ones at quarterback. When you got one of them ones, it ain't just offensive players that want to come and play for your team. It's defensive dudes because they already know. Hey, they got one of them dudes that changed the game on offense. That's going to make my life a lot easier on defense. We got a chance to win. It ain't just offensive dudes that want to come here. Defensive players want to come here too. When you got one of them ones, you got a chance to build something special. People want to be a part of something that's special. The game is changing. The game is changing. It ain't fun when the rabbit got the gun. It ain't fun. Now, we in charge. We the managers. They don't like that shit. It was cool when we were just fighting for hours, man. We wasn't even full-time. We were part-time. Fighting for table scraps. No insurance. No security. Could get rid of us at any time. It was cool when we were just a part-time employee fighting for hours. Now we running this bitch. And we remember all of the other employees that were slightly discourteous to us. We remember that shit. Payback's a bitch. Here we come. Here we come. Uh-oh, here we go. Uh-oh, there I go. Don't duck, bitch, move. Jamal Hamlin writes, LB is seeing the reality. That's why he's lashing out. Hurt people. Again, that's fear talking. When you scared, look, my thing is, if you scared, say you scared, man. I respect that more than you trying to mask the fact that you scared. generally, the way I was brought up and how I see things through my lens is the people that do the most talking, that make the most noise, they're the ones that are the most afraid or self-conscious, right? This is more of a life lesson thing that I'm dropping on your melon right now. This goes beyond the spectrum of being a fan or football. I'm just talking about in general, right? When somebody is afraid or they're not sure, they lack confidence, this is what you do, right? You got one or two ways to play it when you have no confidence or you're lacking confidence or you're afraid. You got one or two things. You can either hype yourself up, talk trash, do all of that stuff to try to convince yourself, hey, we straight. Nah, yeah, they trash. You either do that, you go that road or that route, or you can just keep quiet and hide. One of the two. One of the two. In fandom, generally, it's the former, not the latter. Fans don't know how to be quiet. When they've been in charge for a long time and that title is no longer theirs, and there's a new threat, there's a new sheriff in town, but you don't want to relinquish the power, there's a power struggle. This is what happens. We the new kids on the block. We Marlowe. The Eagles are Stringer Bell and Barksdale and company. Avon Barksdale. They've been running the streets for a while now. But we the new kids in town, and we coming to take over. They want it to be one way. But it's the other way. Red Wing 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Red Wings, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, so Forbes is the odd man out. If it were me, it'd be Michael Davis. Forbes at least gives better depth, and he's got 2 years left on a rookie deal. I just say you try to get rid of the guy that has trade value. Michael Davis has no trade value. So if you can get rid of Forbes, you get rid, like, they're not cutting Emmanuel Forbes. If they don't trade Forbes, then Michael Davis is clearly the odd man out because he holds no value moving forward, right? You're not putting him on the field defensively because he's shown you he can't tackle. And while he does offer you special teams value, he's not great on special teams. But he is a guy that you can put down there on special teams. Forbes offers you no special teams value whatsoever. So if you can't put Forbes on the field in a defensive capacity, he holds no value. None. So I would like to hold on to Michael Davis and trade Emmanuel Forbes. But if nobody is willing to give you what you're looking for with Forbes, then you just hold on to him. Again, it's the whole used car, methodology. Like, this car is worth more to me than it is for me to just essentially give it away to you. I'd rather continue to drive it. Like, if I'm asking you for $3,000 for this car of mine, and you're like, I give you $1,500, I'm like, no, I can't do that. You're like, all right, I give you 17. I'm like, I can't. I said I need $3,000 for the whip. They're like, all right, my last offer, I give you $2,000. That's not good enough for me. I want what I want. And if you can't offer that to me, then I'll just hold on to it. Like you said, there's no rush. He's still got 3 years if you pick up his 5th year option. Nobody's going to do that. But he's still got 2 years left on his contract. 3 if you pick up the 5th year option. So there's no rush. I would just prefer to move on. We clearly see that he's not a part of their future. And I don't think he fits schematically what they want to do. I say you get something for him while you can, right? Commanders, Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Commanders writes, fourth and fifth exchange gap is slim. AP rocks. Again, you're giving away 2 draft picks that you acquired from 2 different teams in 2 different trades. Got the 3rd rounder from the Eagles in the Jahan Dotson trade. And then you got the 6th rounder from the Saints. We were smart enough to hold on to the 3rd rounder we got from the Eagles because that's going to be the higher of the 2 picks. Gave them our 3rd round pick, which is going to be back into the 3rd. And then we gave the Saints back their 6th round pick, which is going to be the higher of the 2 6th round picks, right? So just genius work. And like you said, you're just flopping a 4th and a 5th. We no longer have a 4th. We now have a 5th. Okay. You move back around. So I love it. Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's check the phones as we approach the bottom of the hour and at 2:30 and see. Let's see. Commanders put out Commanders have put out a tweet essentially confirming the trade pending a physical, obviously. Now, that's something that you don't want to just disregard. He's physically got to be healthy, and nothing wrong with him. Once that takes place and they deem him to be physically fit, the trade will become official. I'm so excited about this. We got to find this man a number though that suits his abilities. Can't just be putting any number on this guy. And I don't want to see him in the 30s or the 40s. So we got to figure some shit out, man. I initially was like, hey, he got to go back to his college number. I don't even remember what his college number was. It was a single digit number though. I'm guessing he was like 1 or like I think he was like 1 in college. I'm gonna look him up in college and see what his number was in college. Marshawn Lattimore, Ohio State. He was 2 in college. I thought he was 2. That's because I remember I said De'Ami Brown wearing 2 though. Yeah, De'Ami ain't coming off a 2 either. He might could get it next year. De'Ami, assuming that De'Ami's not back next year, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So no other trades have been made. Nothing else is really percolating. I still think there's another trade or 2 that will take place. I still think that there's another trade to go down somewhere, but we'll see. That was the big domino, though. Everybody was waiting on. Like I said, if I'm the Chargers, I think you got to do something, right? If you're serious about making some noise this year, I think you got to do something. If you're the Chargers, I'm trying to think about any other teams in a position to compete. What they might be like lacking. If you're the Chargers, tight end or receiver, I feel like it's a must, and it doesn't even have to be anything major, right? It's just a guy that can come in and help you. As a skill position player. I'm seeing too much Jalen Reagor and, Semi Fioco and like Will Dissily. Like these can't be the guys you trying to get the football to in your offense. Like that's not okay for Justin Herbert. That's not okay. That's not okay. All right. Barry Curtis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Barry Curtis writes, great trade. I'm gonna take it a step further. I think Noah is playing his ass off in the slot, People forget he's a first-round pick. We might have something in him. I already told you, Noah's playing well. I wouldn't touch him. Like I literally asked the question earlier. No one's responded to me. When's the last time we had a problem in the slot this year? I'm waiting for the answer. When's the last time somebody took advantage of us inside? Now, I'm not telling you Noah has been on his absolute best behavior in every game, because he had his mishaps in the Ravens game, just like everybody else did in that secondary. That was a very poor communication game, and Noah was a part of the poor communication. I'm not telling you that he's been on his absolute best behavior, but who has been in that secondary? What I can tell you is when he's been matched up on somebody one-on-one, he's gotten the job done inside. That's what I am telling you. When teams have tried to isolate him and take shots at him, shit ain't going down. That's all I'm telling you. Y'all ain't walked away from a single game this season since week 2, because and week 3 against the Bengals. Week 2, if you recall, that's the game that they were with the Giants. They were playing around with combinations. They took Noah and put him outside, and he was struggling a little bit but it was neighbors. I mean, who wasn't struggling with him that day, right? But they put him outside, and then the next week against Cincinnati, they took Noah and put him inside. They took Frozone, put him outside. Remember, he got beat on the Jamar Chase touchdown on the first possession, and that was poor leverage, right? That was he played the leverage wrong. Did Mikey Sainristil? That was his first game playing outside ever in his life, though. So, as a starter. So I get it, but the leverage was poor there. He was supposed to funnel Jamar Chase to his help, and instead he let him get to the outside, right? But Igbenogany played inside that game. We didn't have any issues since week 3 when he went inside. You haven't walked away from a game saying, man, Noah Igbenogany stink. He trash. We got to get him out of there. You ain't walked away since week 3 saying that about Noah Igbenogany in a game. You ain't walked away from a game since week 3 saying, man, they killed us in the slot. I know they killed us in the slot week 1. When Mikey was playing in the slot, I know they killed us in week 2. Now, again, Mikey had to adjust, and I think he's going to be a damn good nickel. But we all remember the touchdown on that, what was it, either a third or a fourth down? We came with pressure. I think it was a fourth down against Daniel Jones in the second game of the season. We came with an all-out pressure, and Mikey was in the slot one-on-one against the Memphis receiver for the Giants, 17. I can't remember his damn name. And beat Mikey like he stole something to the outside, easy catch and turn up the field touchdown, right? Easy pitch and catch. That shit ain't been happening with Noah in the slot. I'm just telling you. I like my Mikey outside right now. I'll revisit the Mikey slot corner conversation next year. That's what I would prefer them to do. But we'll see what they decide to do, because I think Noah's playing his ass off inside. And my whole thing is we're just figuring things out. If it ain't broke, do not fix it. If it ain't broke, don't try and fix it. Leave those two alone and just remove Benjamin St-Juste, who has been the biggest problem. Remove him from the equation. If they decide to leave Juice out there, I'm fine with it. They know their team best and what they're trying to accomplish. The real Telly. Stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB mob. You know what to do. Show the real Telly some love. Welcome him with open arms. Welcome to the squad, the real Telly. Glad to have you on board. Ray Riz, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ray Riz writes, what's up, Louie? What up, Ray Riz? Quote, I woke up this morning feeling dangerous. Close quote. I'm extremely pleased with the trade. Things are different. We on the way up 7-2. As a wise man likes to say all the time, damn, it feels good to be a gangster. Chef P is exactly that. Chef P is exactly that. All right. Let's get to the next comment. And I'm going to also check to see if we have, got another trade. Let's see what we got here. Breaking. Steelers are trading for Packers outside linebacker Preston Smith per multiple reports. Wow. That is a great trade. I want to see what the compensation is. Again, I don't think this is going to require anything more because Preston was being phased out of that. Like, if you watch the Packers play, they were phasing him out of the mix in Green Bay. He was not playing as much as he had been in the past. And Preston's getting up there in age. Preston's been around the block now. I mean, what draft was Preston in? The 2015 draft, I believe? Like, Preston is, but this year 9 for Preston, I believe. 8 or 9. Like, he getting up there in age. So he can still, like, he's versatile. He can still help, and you can move him around. And could you imagine a pass rush with TJ Watt, Preston Smith, Alex Highsmith, and Cam Hayward all on the field at the same time? I like that move. And I think this should only cost you like a fifth, maybe even a sixth. Maybe you swap fifths and sixths, right? Maybe you swap a fifth and a seventh. But I think you can just straight up trade him for just a pick, a six, and keep it pushing. I like this move for Pittsburgh. They're getting active today. First, Mike Williams. I told you the Steelers feel like they close. And they love dealing with those veteran players. They love dealing with veteran players. And that's another veteran player that kind of fits in the mix. So Preston Smith, now a Pittsburgh Steeler. Okay. I told you we weren't done. I think there's still one or two more trades left. I think there's one or two more trades left. Commanders, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, no more free meals for AJ Brown and company. And like I said, that's the goal. If you're going to beat teams in your division, you got to match up with them first. That's always the first goal. Rivera used to always say that, but he never actually took actionable steps to make us competitive in that way. He would talk about, well, in order to, beat teams, your first goal is to win the division, he would always say. And in order to do that, you got to match up with the teams in your division. That's why, when he was in Carolina, they went out and got, bigger corners, right? Because they had all those big receivers, Mike Evans and Marquise Colston and Michael Thomas, excuse me, and Julio Jones. They had all those big dynamic receivers, so they had to go get a big corner, right? Which is why they went and got James Bradbury. That's how you compete in your division. You have to counteract what the other teams in your division are capable of doing and what they have. The strength of the Eagles team right now is really 3 players: A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley. You slow down those 3 players, you will beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Easier said than done, obviously. But you got to start somewhere. And to me, you got to start with A.J. Brown because their offense is not the same without him. It's not the same without him. So if you can limit him, the last time we beat the Eagles, 2022, do you remember what A.J. Brown did in that game? Because I can tell you. He had 2 catches for 7 yards. That's how you beat the Eagles. That's how you beat the Eagles. If he goes off or if he has a good game and Smitty has a good game, you're doomed. You got to take something away. You got to take something away. To me, you cut off the head of the snake, which is A.J. Brown, and the rest will die. I'll take my chances with Smitty. He's really good, though, right? I'll take my chances with Smitty and stopping Saquon. But if you let A.J. Brown get off, they're tough to beat. They're tough to beat. Didn't we already do this song and dance, The Real Telly? What we over here doing, man? What we doing? You in the building already. We already said you in the building. Stand up. You in the building, man. You riding with us or what? You in or you out? What you doing, man? J Mart, been a member for 36 months. Salute to my guy J Mart for his 3-year Annie, who writes, LT did the TD to the tight end. LT did the TD to the tight end. Concern you with our linebacker play? I don't even know what the hell that means. You're gonna have to speak English. Like, you got enough characters to actually spell stuff out to make it make sense. So J Mart, you have to run that one back and make it make sense. Dylan Hinton, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I'll be at the game Sunday. Need redemption from last year's Thursday Night Football and AB twerk. I think this one is still at the top of the list because of the AB twerk. All right. I had the 2008 season destruction was at the top of my list at first. We took care of that back in 2020 when we knocked them off when they was undefeated, and that was, we destroyed their season. All right, we paid them back. They destroyed our 2008 season, and we destroyed their 2020 season because they were never the same after we beat them. They start spiraling out of control. It was a house of cards. We just went ahead and started the process of knocking it down. But we never got them back for the 2016 twerkathon. We never got them back for the Freaknik 2016 game. So that's what this one is all about. I need my measure of revenge for that. So you know what to do, Dylan. I don't have to tell you. You know what the mission is. Carry it out. Derek B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Derek B writes, I told you AP would make a move. Carpe diem. You did. You said he would make a move. And I was never against making a move. You know, a lot of our conversations surrounded me telling you that I'm open to a move. It's just got to be a needle mover. A lot of the moves that I felt like you were suggesting weren't needle moving moves. They were just moves just to be making a move. You'd see a team do something. We couldn't do that. For what? What is that going to do for us? Right? There are only a select few moves that I felt like warranted us even entertaining. They weren't at receiver. You know, they weren't at any other position. It was corner and edge rusher. And I said, there are only a select few defensive linemen that I would even be interested in. Zadarius Smith and Harold Landry were two of the very few that I was interested in. And then I said, corners, you're not going to find any available. So I didn't even think corner was in play until the Saints bottomed out. And then you start looking around and you say, hey, you know, the Saints are just, they're on par with the Patriots, the Jags, the Titans, and all the rest of these bad teams that have stuff that you look at and say, hey, if you ain't going to use it, let me get that. And that's how Marshawn Lattimore kind of came to fruition. Because I didn't see him as a viable trade option, especially after they started the season 2-0. And even after that fast start and the struggles here of late, I thought they'd beat Carolina. I thought there were a couple of games that were there for them to win that I thought they might have been able to win. That Chargers game was there for the taking. Panthers game was there. And if they win, those 2 games, we're not having this conversation. They're not dealing Marshawn Lattimore. But as fate would have it, those games were losses. That team is bad. They did fire their head coach, and so here we are. And I'm glad that move became available and that Chef P decided to deal. Like I said, if it's a needle moving move, sign me up. Yeah, let's go seize the day. I'm with it. Let's go seize the day. And you didn't overspend to get him. I thought it was going to take a 2. Personally, I thought it was going to take a 2. And he wasn't willing to do that. I could put together a package that feels like a 2, right? A 3, a 4, and a 6. You put all that together, it feels like a 2. I mean, that's essentially what we're saying. Like I said, I thought it was going to take a 2. A 3, a 4, and a 6 probably amounts to a 2 if you put those points together. It's probably going to amount to a 2. That's what I thought it would take to get Marshawn Lattimore. Instead of actually giving up your 2nd-round pick, we gave up a package of picks that feel like a 2. I'm with it because that's what I thought it would take to get a guy his caliber. And I told you I was willing to part ways with a 3 for the right guy. I told you for Zadarius Smith, I would have been willing to part ways with a 3 if that's what it would have taken. Obviously, that's not what it took for Detroit to get him. I was more in line with a 4. Still didn't even take that much to get him. Different player, different stage of his career, different type of impact. Anyway, I digress. Let's see if there are any more trades. So it's a 7th rounder for Preston Smith. I knew it was a late round pick. I was saying 6th. He had been phased out of Green Bay's defense, and he still got something left. But I knew it wasn't going to take much. So a 7th rounder for Preston Smith. Steelers give up a 7th rounder, get Preston Smith, add him to their defensive mix, and it's a good fit. And looks like a old friend will be returning back to his old stomping grounds this weekend, as Preston Smith will be a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend when they take on the Washington Commanders. So I'm excited about what is going on. And let's see. All right. If I'm the Saints, I'm trying to deal Carl Granderson, all that stuff. Like nothing, I wouldn't be holding on to nothing. Like I wouldn't be holding on to nothing. Like trade everything that you can. Get everything that you can. All right. Azeez Ojulari is still available. That's another name to look out for if you're a team, looking for a pass rusher. That's another name. I haven't really talked about him a lot because I don't see the Giants moving him unless the price is right. If I were them, I probably would trade what's his face before I traded Azeez, honestly, but they ain't gonna do that. I'd trade the dude from Oregon. He trash for real. I'm gonna be honest with you. He basic. I won't call him trash. He basic. He's gonna be, when it's all said and done, to me, he'll be the equivalent of, Chase Young for them. I'll say this: he's already exceeded from a statistical standpoint. He's already exceeded Chase Young. Right? He had a double-digit sack season already to this point of his career. Chase Young does not, and Chase Young will never have a double-digit sack season in his career. Never. So from that standpoint, he's already better. But um, from an impact standpoint, the Giants will never get top 5 production out of him. And they spent, if I'm not mistaken, a top 5 pick on him. So Kayvon Thibodeau, thank you, Colin. They'll never get top 5 production out of Kayvon Thibodeau. They'll never feel like they got what they, spent the draft pick on. But we'll see what happens. Adam Thielen is another name that was out there. He been hurt though this year. I think. I think. If he had been healthy this year, he would be another guy that might have got dealt. I think it's hard for teams to reconcile trading for a guy that hasn't probably. I don't think Adam Thielen has played since week 3. If I'm not mistaken, it's hard to reconcile in your brain trading for a guy who hasn't played since week 3. That's a tough thing to do, especially at this point of his career too. I don't know if teams are willing to give up, what it might take. All right. We're approaching the top of the hour. And the final hour of the trade deadline. Bilbo Baggins. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I'm talking reckless. Hashtag HTTRC. I mean, I was talking reckless before this happened. I mean, all this does is solidify what we already thought, which is if you can fortify the weakness of your team with a player the caliber of a Marshawn Lattimore, you have a chance to do something a lot bigger than we all thought prior to waking up this morning. Because I said this back in week 4, 3 or 4. The team is only going to go as far as the defense will allow it to go. We know this offense and that quarterback can take you anywhere if the defense allows it to. We know that this quarterback is capable. You just got to give him a chance. And in the games that we've lost this season, the defense hasn't given us a chance. We never had the ball against Tampa Bay after falling behind. I think it was 16-7. I think the score was. It might have. I don't know if it ever got to 16-14. Feel like it was 23-7 before we scored our 14th point in that game. We never had the ball with a chance to tie or take the lead in that Tampa game. And he wasn't there yet mentally, right? That was week 1. That was his first NFL game. He wasn't there yet. But we never had the ball with a chance against Baltimore. They never gave us that chance. And as we've seen with 5, we just need a chance. Just give me a shot. So we only can go where the defense allows us to go. And now with this move, there's a chance that the defense can allow us to go a lot further than we thought, when we went to sleep last night and when we woke up this morning. But I digress. Red House, not Roadhouse. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, pipe dream, but imagine if we got Crosby too. It's not happening. They're not trading Max Crosby. He's not even available. But yes, it is a pipe dream. And you know what? You can find your own Max Crosby in the draft. Those guys do exist. You just got to look and you got to find them. Remember, Max Crosby was not a first-round pick. Max Crosby was not a second-round pick. He was a third-round pick out of Eastern Michigan. So you can find a Max Crosby. You just got to know what you're looking for. And if I trust anybody to do that, to find that caliber of player or a guy that can be a game changer, it's Chef P and Lance Newmark. John Perez, my guy, JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, JP writes, only gripe I have is that we could have used a DN. I don't think we need a DN, right? Here's why I say that. Could we have used a difference-making edge rusher, a guy that can win at any time? Yes, absolutely. And you can never have enough of those dudes. But this is the thing. We have so much depth at defensive end when fully healthy, and we're approaching, for the first time this season on the defensive line, we're approaching full health. Once we get Javonte John Baptiste back, we'll be at full strength for the first time at defensive end with Klee and FA and DFJ and Dorrance and Javonte all available. And they're not, who are you going to cut? They're not cutting Javonte. They really like him. And I'm going to be honest with you. I liked him too. I liked Javonte early in the season. He impressed me. So I don't see them wanting to cut any of their defensive ends to free up a roster spot to go get a guy. I think they like their defensive ends just the way they are right now. They'll revisit that, next year. They'll revisit that. I don't think Klee's going to be back next year. Who knows? They may like him enough. They may like him enough to bring him back on another one-year deal. I don't think he'll be back next year. I think Dante Fowler Jr. will be back next year. I do think that's going to take place. But we'll see what they ultimately decide to do on the defensive line. FA won't be back next year. You know what I'm saying? So there'll be space next year. But right now, I don't think there's space. All right. I see a lot of people getting into it on socials. Save your breath. Save your keystrokes. It won't be long before we get to decide it on the field, with the Eagles. And we don't even have to wait a whole week. The only thing I hate about that is a quick turnaround. And, I expect this Steelers game to be physically taxing and brutal. And so playing a physical team like Pittsburgh and then having to turn around and get it back up, which you won't have to, work too hard to do. It's an NFC East game, and it's the team that either is leading the division in Philadelphia or trailing us by a half game in the division, whatever the case may be. Whatever the case may be, it's going to be a big deal. And so the good thing is, after that game against Philadelphia, you get a pseudo bye. And boy, can we use a pseudo bye. There aren't many teams who haven't had their bye week already, you know, and there's still quite a few. I won't say that there's not many. There's still quite a few who haven't had their bye week, but um, we're one of those teams who haven't had their bye week yet. And as the number of teams who haven't had their bye week dwindle, we will be among the final teams to get their bye, as we have been the last 2 seasons. Now make it 3 this year to do so. And so, in that thought, that Thursday night game, while it sucks because it's a quick turnaround, you don't have the amount of time that you normally have to get yourself together, to prepare, to play a game. The rest on the back end of that thing is going to be huge for this team. Huge. So we'll see what happens. All right. Let's see if anything. Let's see if there's anything else going on from a. What is this? All right. I thought I saw something about Darius Slayton getting traded from the. I actually think he's a solid receiver in the NFL. Honestly speaking, you get him on the right team, I think he could be a problem. So it looked like the Packers just essentially did the same thing they essentially did the same thing that we did. They took a guy, they took a pick because the Packers. Um, let me see. Let me make sure I'm saying this right. Okay, they were saying that's the same pick that the tight that the so the Packers recouped the pick essentially that they sent the Titans for Malik Willis. They sent a 7th round pick for Malik Willis, and now they're getting their 7th round pick back for Preston Smith. So that's essentially what they're saying about the Packers situation. All right. Now we down to our last hour of the trade deadline. And it's already been an eventful day. So for those of you who are not up to speed on all of the moves of the day, let's recap them here as we go down home stretch of the trade deadline. So we'll go in the order of the most recent trades and work our way back. Steelers have made 2 trades today, the last of which the Steelers traded for edge rusher Preston Smith from the Green Bay Packers for a 2025 7th-round selection. That has a chance to really be an impactful move. I've always said that the biggest issue with the Steelers is when they don't have somebody opposite of TJ Watt. They struggle in those instances. When they have somebody opposite of Watt, it's problematic, and that defense flourishes. Now you can not only have someone opposite of Watt, you can also put Preston Smith on the field while Watt and Highsmith and Cam Hayward and all of those guys that they have. The kid from Wisconsin has been really good for them. It feels like this year too. Forget it. I can't remember his name, but feels like he's been all over the field. So that could end up being a really big move to help bolster their pass rush. The Steelers, as I mentioned, made 2 deals, the first of which was for former Jets, former Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams, who they traded a 2025 fifth round pick for um, to the Jets to get Mike Williams at the receiver position. And now that gives them another option opposite of George Pickens. I think they like the way that some of the other receivers have been playing, but none of them are number 2 receivers, right? Van Jefferson is not a number 2 receiver. Um, what's the smaller receiver that's actually really good? And he just returned a punt for a touchdown a couple weeks ago against the Giants for a touchdown. Calvin Austin he's a good little, shifty receiver, but he ain't a number 2. Mike Williams is a bona fide number 2 in this league. And so now everybody's properly slotted. And now the Steelers, again, you can see what the Steelers are trying to do. Like they're going after it. They're going after it. Biggest move of the day, Marshawn Lattimore and is now a member of the Washington Commanders. Big trade between the Saints and Commanders. The Commanders received Marshawn Lattimore and a 2025 fifth round pick. The Saints in this deal receive a 2025 third, fourth, and sixth round selection. So big deal there as the Washington Commanders look to solidify one of the weakest parts of their team with a difference-making cornerback. That could be a huge move in the grand scheme of things, not just in the NFC East, but now in the NFC as a whole. Cowboys made somewhat of a head-scratching move, depending on who you ask. I've played devil's advocate here. Like, just on the surface, this is a bad move for the Cowboys, right? They've done the fourth round pick experiment thing before. It did not work. They did it just a season ago with Trey Lance, and that didn't work out for them. They could have used that fourth round pick this past draft to get them an upgrade at the running back position, at the receiver position, or even at defensive tackle, all positions that they're struggling at as we speak. Instead, they gave that to the San Francisco 49ers to test out Trey Lance to see if he was worthy of what exactly, I don't know. I think they wanted to move on from Dak Prescott, and they were hoping a fourth round pick could net them Trey Lance and a future signal caller so that they didn't have to pay Dak Prescott the money that they ultimately just paid him. But that did not work out in their favor. They're doing it again, sending away a fourth round selection. This time it's more of a pick swap. They are giving away a fourth round pick, receiving a seventh round pick in the upcoming 2025 draft, and wide receiver Jonathan Mingo from the Carolina Panthers. The former second round pick has been a massive disappointment for the Carolina Panthers in just his second season. And so he's getting a fresh start in Dallas. The Cowboys claim they really liked him prior to the 2023 draft when he was selected in the second round out of Ole Miss. And if it works out for Dallas, you spent a fourth round pick on a guy that can play high level football for you for the next 2.5 years, the rest of this season, and then he's got 2 more years on his rookie contract. And if he's really good and you opt to re-sign him, then this fourth round pick is a drop in the hat, right? It's nothing to get you a complimentary number 2 receiver to go alongside of CeeDee Lamb. If Jonathan Mingo continues to play the type of football that he was playing in Carolina, well, then it's another failed fourth round pick experiment for Dallas. And they can't keep doing that with the state of their current roster, especially when you've had to spend as much money as you've had to spend on other draft picks that have panned out that you've had to pay. You can't afford to keep giving away cheap labor and draft capital, right? So you got to hit on these guys. You're going to trade for them. Cincinnati Bengals quietly acquired running back Khalil Herbert. Never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. from the Chicago Bears in exchange for a 2025 seventh round pick. Like the move, I talked about this for probably the last 3 or 4 weeks. Cincinnati simply is not getting enough out of their run game. I think it's putting too much pressure on Joe Burrow and that pass game because they're not getting enough. Brown has been solid, but they haven't gotten nearly enough out of Zach Moss, who they signed in free agency to come in and kind of be a 1-2 punch to replace Joe Mixon along with Brown, and it just hasn't worked out. Brown has been solid. Zach Moss has been non-existent, and they really haven't had the kind of oomph that they've been looking for in a run game. Entering Khalil Herbert, who I think can be exactly that for them, and be a good 1-2 punch along with Brown in that backfield. Another big move of the day. The Detroit Lions. This one was in the works. I talked about this yesterday on CNN. I said like this had been in the works for a while, and it was going to become official today, and that it did. The Detroit Lions acquire edge rusher Zadarius Smith from the Cleveland Browns. Also, with Smith comes a 2026 seventh round pick. The Lions surrender a 2025 fifth rounder and a 2026 sixth rounder. So essentially, a swapping of 26 picks, 6 for a seventh, and then the Browns are getting a fifth rounder in 2025. And the Lions get what they feel like is probably the missing piece of their Super Bowl puzzle in Zadarius Smith. That's a big move for right now, the prohibitive favorite in the NFC to represent the conference in the Super Bowl, the Detroit Lions. Arizona Cardinals yesterday, quietly, again, a lot of people not really paying attention to the first place 5-4 Arizona Cardinals, but yes, they are in fact in first place. Are the Arizona Cardinals? They completed a trade to shore up probably the weakest part of their team. This is a team that doesn't get tremendous pass rush. They don't have a guy, right? Outside of Dennis Gardeck, who I think is a really solid pass rusher, they don't have a guy that can get to the quarterback. They went out and traded for Baron Browning from the Denver Broncos in exchange for a 2025 sixth round pick. And Browning is a guy that can get to the quarterback, can affect the game. And so that's a really good move for Arizona. And that's proof that they're going after the NFC West crown by making a move there and not sitting on their hands and being idle. So lots getting done prior to the trade deadline, which I thought would happen. I talked about this yesterday. I said I expect a lot of moves to take place this year at the trade deadline, and we're seeing that come to fruition. So let's get back to the comment section. Commanders, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Commanders writes, what's your thought on letting Fuller leave? When it first happened, looking at the state of our cornerback position, I wasn't a big fan of it. But I wasn't going to stand in the way of anything that this new group came in and wanted to do. Like, I wanted them to be able to have the freedom to come in here, do whatever they felt like was necessary, because again, we were a 4-13 program. So, you know, barring the Terry McLaurins, the Jonathan Allens, the Sam Cosmes, the Deron Paynes, the Tress Ways, the Jeremy Reeves of the world, guys that have done something in this league at a high level despite the dysfunction that was around them. Outside of those guys, nobody, and Brian Robinson Jr., you could include him in that mix as well. Outside of those select few guys, everybody was on the table. Nobody was off limits. And Fuller's contract had expired. It's not like they cut him. It's not like he had a year or two left and they got rid of him. His contract was up. That was the last year of the 4-year deal that Rivera had signed him to when they first got here. So I was open to Kendall Fuller being back, but clearly they went in a different direction, and I wasn't mad at that. And I'm not mad at that. Could he have helped this team? Yeah, I think he could have helped. I think he could have helped. But at the end of the day, they did what they felt like was the right thing to do for the team. And now we got Marshawn Lattimore. And if Kendall Fuller was here and he was healthy, he dealt with some things in Miami. But had he been here, Mike Sainristil doesn't go outside. Maybe Mike is playing better inside by now, but we may have unearthed something on accident by putting him outside. And I personally wouldn't move him. I personally wouldn't move him. We might have unearthed a gem, on accident. But that's just me. So Calvin, creme de la creme. I love it. I love it, Calvin. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. I like the new name. Calvin, creme de la creme. I love it. If you factor in the Dotson trade, we essentially got Lattimore and 2/7 for Dotson, a 4th and a 6th. Literally, this Lattimore trade, you can slice it up any way you want. I've talked about the 3 picks that we gave up combined probably equals the 2. You got people saying it's the extra third that we had, the lesser of the 2/3. You got the lesser. I think you have the greater of the 2 6s, right? The Saints want their 6 back, and we gave it to them. But those weren't, like picks that, like essentially, we had extra picks in both the 3rd and the 6th round. So you gave away extra picks that you acquired this offseason, and all you really surrendered for Lattimore was a 4th round pick. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could look at it. You could essentially say you traded Jahan Dotson, Captain Insano, and a 4th round pick for Marshawn Lattimore. Who's not doing that? Right? Like, seriously, who's not doing that? So you can slice it up any way you want, but when it's all said and done, we got Marshawn Lattimore. So that's all I care about. I'll let everybody else figure out how they want the math equation to look and how they want to, slice it up, how they want to present it. But it's Chef P cooking. That's all I know. You can slice up the veggies however way you want. You want julienne them? Go ahead. You don't want them that small? That's fine. You just want to cut them up into slices and throw them in the pan? Whatever. He's still cooking. That's it. That's my biggest thing is he's still cooking. You do whatever you want. You can cut it up, slice it up, however you want, but he's still cooking. It's a delicious meal. Delicioso. Condo P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Condo P writes, not trade news, but the Raiders hired Norv Turner as an assistant on offense. Hit the like button. You heard the woman. Big shout out to Condo P. Thank you for the public service announcement. Hit the thumbs up. I like the ratio we're at, 400 likes. Oh, no, somebody unhit the like button. It was at 400, then it went to 399. But it's over 600 of you out there. If you can, let's get that number up. Now we're back to 400. Hey, how about that? Love it. So really appreciate that. And I did see the Norv Turner news. His son is there. We all are very familiar with Scott. And the news kind of feels like Scott is going to take over the play calling duties in Vegas. And they brought Norv to kind of oversee that process. Can't hurt to have Norv around working with his son. Norv likes to be around the grandkids. Scott's already in Vegas, so hey, it's a family affair. I just know that the Raiders are lost. I feel bad for Antonio Pierce, but I don't. He took that job knowing that he might not get another shot, so he got to try to make the best out of it. And he's doing everything in his power to try to get them to win now. And you're not in a win now situation, Holmes. You can change all of the coaches you want. You can fire the offensive line coach. You can fire the play caller. You can fire whoever you want. You still got Gardner Minshew and what's the other dude at quarterback from Purdue? What's the other quarterback name? I'm about to find out. Raiders. What was it? O'Connell? Aiden O'Connell, right? You still got Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell at quarterback. Ain't no amount of play calling going to fix or change that. You got what you got. You have no number one receiver. You don't have a dynamic run game. You got what you got. I'm not telling you that you can't get better with the stuff that you have and that the play calling isn't trash and that you didn't need to upgrade the offensive line coach. I'm not telling you that all those things, weren't being done at a level that was good enough to help you win. But there's only so much that can be done with the talent that is in Vegas. So, and then yes, like somebody said, Desmond Ritter. Yeah, you have Desmond Ritter too. Like, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can do. Okay, we got a trade alert. Got another trade. The Los Angeles Rams are trading cornerback Tre'Davious White, which we had heard that name surfacing. I didn't want any parts of him personally because that's not a needle mover, right? I said I need a needle mover. If you're not moving the needle, then you're just spinning your wheels in place. They trade Tre'Davious White to the Ravens. He was gonna get cut. Was Tre'Davious White, and he didn't serve a purpose with the Rams. But Baltimore decided to swap 7th-round picks to make sure they secure him. Because had he hit the streets, he then, because he's a vested veteran, he would not have been subjected to waivers. He would have just been a free agent, and then he could have picked whatever team he wanted to go to, and he might not have picked Baltimore. So now he is a Raven. So a swapping of 7th-round picks, I think, and the way it's been phrased here. I'm assuming either the Ravens just gave him a 7th-round pick or the two teams did some funny business with some 7th-round picks. We'll get the parameters of that deal, but it sounds like the Ravens just gave him a 7th-round pick. That's what it sounds like. So got another trade. I think now we're done. I don't think we'll hear another trade. Maybe we got one more in us. But I told you I thought we had 2 more trades, and we got 2 more trades, right? I think we might be done now. There could be one more. I still think there's another receiver that can be traded for. I still think there's another receiver or possibly a tight end. I still think the Chargers need to do something. Personally, I wouldn't sit on my hands if I'm the Chargers. I don't think there's any other teams that realistically feel like, I don't know what the Texans situation is from a draft pick standpoint, but I would, if they have a 7th-round pick, I'd call New England and trade for Kendrick Bourne. Like, go get one of those type of receivers, right? You don't have Diggs anymore. Go get another guy so he can be your third option, so that when Nico Collins comes back and you still have Tank Dell, you still have another guy, unless you feel like this Hutchinson dude that I've been seeing way too much of, or some other receiver that you have is capable of filling that void, because it ain't Steven Sims Jr. Go get a Kendrick Bourne. It's not going to cost, like, now, Kendrick Bourne, he might cost you a little bit, like, from a financial standpoint. Like, you're not in a position to be, like, he signed a pretty solid contract, I think, with the Patriots. So I don't know what, like, financially, what that's going to cost you. And I'm assuming that KJ Osborne signed a solid contract with New England. So again, you're not in a position, like, you want somebody on a rookie deal that's being paid the bare minimum. That's what you're looking for. If you're the Texans, that, because Diggs is coming off the books after this year. That was a 1-year restructured deal. He's a free agent next year. So you're not being hurt by that situation, but you need something now. You want to be able to compete with the likes of the Bills and the Chiefs and the Steelers and the Ravens. And if that's the case, you need to do something. If you're the Chargers and you expect to compete with the Chiefs this year, you need to do something. You need to do something. So we'll see what happens. G Style, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. G Style writes, great day, Lou. It is. I agree. Says, I really like Noah Igbenogany. Being an Auburn fan, he was always one of my favorites to come through the Plains. He's very sticky, man. I'm telling you, Noah's done nothing but impress me since he's gotten to Washington. I was certain that he was being brought in to be special teams depth. And, you know, I was so wrong about him, just like I was so wrong about Michael Davis. I thought Michael Davis would be this year's Ronald Darby from 2020. Not the case. Noah Igbenogany has been that kind of a player for us this year. And he's been one of those unsung heroes. And I think he has earned the right to continue to stay on the field and play. And when the coaching staff has spoken, especially Joe Witt Jr., about corners in particular, they've singled out Noah Igbenogany and Mikey Sainristil as two guys that have played the position the way that they want to play it in terms of the speed and the physicality and the tackling. And I just don't think you need to take that off the field, right? I don't really feel like he needs to be a guy that, because of this move, he needs to be the one that has to suffer or to make an adjustment. I just think you leave those two guys alone. The prime suspect for this secondary struggling has been Benjamin St-Juste. He's been in the middle of a lot of stuff. Some good, most bad, right? The 4th down stop against Chicago, awesome. The punch out against the Giants in week 2, that was the first turnover we had forced all season. Excellent. But those moments are few and far between. We have more of the Baltimore games where guys are just open. Last week, 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 9, and they run a deep comeback and he can't put the brakes on. He's right there, but it's not good enough. Obviously, the Bears game at the end on a 4th down where he panics, well, that ball is uncatchable, but he panics. You're just sick and tired of seeing that. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. All right. So here is the specifics and the particulars of this Rams-Ravens trade. Tre'Davious White and a 2027 7th round pick to the Ravens for a 2026 7th round pick. So we going NBA trade on your ass now. The Ravens push that shit all the way out to 2027. Here, you take a 7th 3 years from now. Not 2025, not 2026, but 2027. You take a 7th 3 years from now. And the Rams is like, oh, okay, cool. Excuse me. The Rams told the Ravens, you take this 2027 3 years from now. And the Ravens like, all right, cool. You take this 7th round pick 2 years from now. So yeah, that's wild. So it was a swapping of seventh rounders just in two separate drafts. So that deal is done. There may be one more deal, but I wouldn't be shocked if we're done now. But that's an active day for an NFL trade deadline, if I may say so myself. Very, very active day indeed. All right. So you're still going to get a CNN episode from me today. I won't come back and do the podcast. This will serve as the pod for today. You'll get a podcast tomorrow. We'll go through the week 9 games. We'll go slate skating. I've had a chance to watch all those games, so we'll go through that. You should get a kickback session from me tonight, and we should be watching a film today. That should still be taking place, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think I want to knock those things out today. So more likely than not, those things will still transpire today. Reggie T, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB mob. You know what to do. Show Reggie T some love. Welcome him with open arms. Reggie T, welcome to the squad. So we are now at the bottom of the hour, and there are officially 29 minutes left in the NFL trade deadline. I think we have seen all of the big moves that are going to transpire. I do think that one or two moves could still happen on a smaller scale, but I wouldn't be shocked if we don't have any more moves that take place today. But I think the relevance of the trade deadline is starting to come into fruition. Like, it's starting to come into focus. You're seeing this NFL trade deadline become more relevant. And I don't think it has anything to do with them pushing it back a week, even though I can say that pushing it back a week, because I don't know if you guys, remember, but this is the first year that the trade deadline has taken place post Halloween. Normally the trade deadline happens the last, Tuesday in October. And so this is the first time that the trade deadline is taking place in November, post Halloween. And the thought process behind that was every other league's trade deadline happens either at the midpoint of the season or a little bit further beyond it, right? Gives teams a little bit more time to figure out where they fit in the grand scheme of things. When half of the season is done, or 2/3 or 3/5 of the season is done, you know where you stand at that point. You know if you're good or if you're not good, and if you need to sell off pieces or if you need to be a buyer and you need to try to go for it, by then. For the NFL, it came a little bit prior to the halfway point. And so you still had teams kind of like straddling the fence. Like, hey, the Rams, think about it this way. The Rams had to make a decision. They didn't have to make it as rapidly as they would have had the deadline not been pushed back a week. They would have had to make a decision on whether they wanted to trade Cooper Kupp or not. They go out, they win that Thursday night game, and at that point, Cooper Kupp was off the table, right? But what if they didn't play on Thursday night? What if they played on Sunday? What if they had a bye week and they come off the bye and they win? It's a lot different than the trade deadline coming after week 9, them having a chance to not only win on Thursday night, but then win the following week after that and get back to 500. Now, they had already announced after the Thursday night win they weren't trading Cooper Kupp. But just pushing it back gives you a little bit more time to assess where you are. New Orleans might not have made this trade a week ago. They had Carolina coming up on the schedule. They might have told themselves, we beaten Carolina. Our division isn't great. We still have a lot of division games in front of us. We think we can come back and we can make something of our season. And maybe they don't deal him. Marshawn Lattimore, I'm talking about. But because that thing was pushed back and they got to see that they're super trash and they just lost to Carolina, what are we doing here? They fired their coach and they're ready to start offloading some items. I think they should have been trying to offload Chase Young, trying to offload Alvin Kamara, trying to offload Carl Granderson. Get it, look, trade as much of the stuff that you have that has value as possible so you can start anew. That's what I would have been doing if I was the Saints. I wouldn't just trading Marshawn Lattimore. Maybe you don't want to part ways with Alvin Kamara. Okay, fine. You could have traded Carl Granderson. By the time you get back to being good, Carl Granderson, Chase Young, none of those guys are like Chase Young isn't in your future. Now, I say that everybody else around the league might have been like, I don't want his ass. I don't want his ass. And I get that too. But I would have been actively working those phones trying to move Chase Young. He seems to be the guy that is the pick that keeps on giving. Like if you can flip him and get something, flip him and get something. Anyway, I digress. Reggie T, welcome to the squad. Glad to have you on board. All right. Let's check to make sure that no other moves have been made or nothing else is happening. Everything looks to be in working order right now. Let's see if there are any rumors taking place right now. That might suggest that something else could be in the works prior to this. All right. Joe Burrow said that he's happy that the Bengals went out and tried to get better by adding Khalil Herbert into the mix. So this is the other side of the Saints trade, right? So you got somebody saying, what a great trade for the Saints. Lattimore has played in 24 of a possible 43 games over the past 3 seasons, has been declining in performance, and looked totally checked out and uninterested in tackling even before the Saints started losing. Getting a third, fourth is great for him. And that was my point before the trade, is that he hasn't looked like the Marshawn Lattimore that that I have come to know and love over the first, 5 years or so of his career. Here of late, he hasn't looked like that guy, but your circumstances can also help dictate that. We've seen players play worse because their situation isn't good, and then they get a new lease on life, and they go somewhere else, and you go, where was this guy? That guy didn't exist anymore because that situation didn't allow for that guy to exist anymore. He's going to be rejuvenated, right? He's going to be reinvigorated by the building, by the ecosystem that we've created. And the hope is our training staff, our regimen, the way that we go about business is going to keep him healthy, right? Um, and we're also hoping that how we utilize him and in the environment that we have. He wanted to come to Washington. He wanted to come to Washington because he sees what we're building. He understands the environment, and you're hoping that that changes his whole mindset. Because when he first came in the league, he'd tackle anybody. He was a dog. So that dog still exists. That dog still hunts. You just got to bring that back out of him. I don't think that's going to be very hard to do. I really don't. So, but that's another side of the trade. From the Saints, standpoint, they were getting diminishing returns on that investment. So get out while the getting's good. For us, we could end up getting a steal, or we could see more of what the Saints saw. Only time will tell. I like the fact that we went after an opportunity because I said this already. You don't want to take any season with JD5 for granted. Don't want to take any season for granted. I wasn't willing to give up pieces just for the sake of saying I did something. Not willing to do that. But if you could find me a needle moving trade, I'm all about it. They found a needle moving player, thus a needle moving trade. Now let's see if it moves the needle or not. So Falcons and 49ers are teams that are still working the phones as we speak, potentially looking to make a move. We'll see if anything gets done these final, 20 minutes or so left in the trade deadline. I'm going to stick around until about 4:15 or so just to make sure nothing shakes right after it. And if nothing, comes to fruition, we'll bail. We'll get out of here and then we'll reset. Um, let's see. Bryce Young won't be traded. I was hoping he would get dealt. I'll talk about his performance against the Saints tomorrow on the podcast. He definitely just needs a fresh start. I really truly believe that he just needs an environment that's going to nurture him, a fan base that's not already resigned to the fact that he can't do it. He just needs to go somewhere where the expectations aren't what they were in Carolina. And he just needs to be able to just take a deep breath and say, all right, let's just go play football. Like that ship has already sailed in Carolina. The fan base has made up their mind. It is what it is, right? The talent isn't great out there. The scheme isn't, they haven't done it's a bad organization first and foremost. So anytime you put a young quarterback in a bad organization, this is what's going to happen to him. You're going to destroy him. The sooner he gets out of there, the better chance he has of making something of his NFL career. But they're not going to trade him now. Doesn't mean that they won't trade him in the offseason, but I would have liked to have seen a team like the Giants or the Vegas Raiders just say, to hell with it. Let's go get him. But clearly that's not going to happen. All right. Almost down to our final 15 minutes of the trade deadline. Let's recap some of the trades quickly that have taken place today. And go over those quickly. And the compensation. We've done this a few times, but we just had one trade added to the mix. So the Ravens have acquired Tre'Davious White, cornerback from the Rams, in exchange for and they also received a 2027 seventh round pick. Meanwhile, the Rams received a 2026 seventh round pick. So that tells you just how desperate both teams were in that situation. Ravens really wanted Tre'Davious White, didn't want to allow him to hit the free agency market. And the Rams just wanted something for him because they were going to cut him. It's really simple. All right. Preston Smith was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers from the Green Bay Packers in exchange for a 2025 seventh round selection. So Preston Smith, on the back end of his career at 31 years old, goes to Pittsburgh and has a chance to help the Steelers do something big this season. And the Packers get back their seventh round pick, essentially, that they gave up to acquire quarterback Malik Willis from the Tennessee Titans. Steelers get that wide receiver depth that they had been chasing all season long. We had heard the Steelers rumored to every receiver that was available. We heard them rumored to Amari Cooper. We heard them rumored to Devontae Adams. We heard them rumored to DeAndre Hopkins. We heard them rumored to Christian Kirk. We heard them rumored to Mike Williams. They finally got Mike Williams. Steelers get Mike Williams and fork over a 2025 fifth round draft pick to the Jets. So Steelers, as you can see, feel like they got a chance to do something this year. And hence the two trades that they have participated in today. Big splash for the Commanders. One of the bigger trades of this entire trade deadline. The only trade that probably tops this one is the trade of Devontae Adams from the Raiders to the Jets. But this is the biggest trade of the day. May ultimately turn out to be the most impactful trade of the day. We'll see. Obviously, it's Zadarius Smith going to the Lions could also play a huge part in determining who wins big this season. But the Commanders have been one of the surprise teams in the league this year, starting 7-2. They've got the offensive rookie of the year on their team currently, and rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels. They've played excellent football to this point. The defense has been a big question mark, though, up and down performances. The secondary has been a big issue and probably the biggest concern for this team, the cornerback position in particular. And they go out and get cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, four-time Pro Bowl cornerback Marshawn Lattimore from the New Orleans Saints, in addition to a 2025 fifth-round selection. Washington sends a 2025 third, fourth, and sixth round selection to the New Orleans Saints for that deal to commence. So big move for the Commanders getting Marshawn Lattimore. That could be the game-changing move that they need to push them over the top to be highly competitive this season. The Dallas Cowboys made somewhat of a head-scratching move earlier in the day. And again, depending on who you talk to, it's head-scratching, but you could play both sides of the fence. Cowboys traded for wide receiver Jonathan Mingo from the Carolina Panthers. They also received a 2025 seventh round pick in the deal. Meanwhile, Carolina receives a 2025 fourth round pick. So they swapped a seventh and a fourth, did the two teams, and the Cowboys also received wide receiver Jonathan Mingo, which was the centerpiece of this deal. Mingo has been an underachieving former second round pick out of Ole Miss. Only has 12 catches on the season this year, but the Cowboys liked him pre-draft process back in 2023 when he was selected in the second round by the Panthers. And they think he can make a good pairing with CeeDee Lamb and become their number 2 wide receiver. If that, in fact, turns out to be the case, then this is a steal for Dallas. If he does not, and he continues to play the way that he's played this first year and a half of his NFL career, then this will be the second year in a row that the Cowboys have wasted a fourth round selection chasing after potential. They did it last year with Trey Lance, did not work out. They're doing it again with Jonathan Mingo. Stay tuned to be continued. Cincinnati Bengals bolster their running back room by trading for former Bears running back Khalil Herbert. Never, ever trust a man with two first names. They needed help at the running back position. I think they really missed Joe Mixon this year. And so trading for Khalil Herbert gives them a nice little 1-2 punch with Brown, also their second year back out of Illinois in that backfield. I think Zach Moss has been really disappointing for them. Herbert is going to give them a much needed punch in the arm, or shot in the arm rather, at the running back position. And the Bears in this deal receive a 2025 seventh round selection for a guy that had lost really a lot of snaps this season. He went from a guy that the Bears were really, featuring in years past to, an afterthought on that team with the emergence of DeAndre Swift. So good move for both teams there. Lions, obviously, big move getting Zadarius Smith from the Cleveland Browns. In addition to acquiring Zadarius Smith, the Lions also receive a 2026 seventh round selection. The Browns in this deal receive a 2025 fifth round selection and a 2026 sixth round selection. So good move for Cleveland, moving off of a piece that had value, and an even bigger move for Detroit, getting a player that's still playing at a very high level that can be the missing piece to your championship aspirations. Cardinals quietly made a deal yesterday to acquire Baron Browning from the Denver Broncos. The edge rusher has been playing good football the last couple of seasons. Broncos had no intentions of paying him. Arizona desperately needs a guy that can try to give them some juice off the edge. Enter in Baron Browning. Don't forget, Arizona is leading the NFC West at 5-4. So this is a really big move for them. Denver receives a 2025 sixth round pick in the process. So those are your trades, and those are the latest moves that have been made. We are now 8 minutes away from the 4:00 hour on the East Coast. And we will see if anything else gets done. If it doesn't, we will exit stage left. Let me ask you, you viewers out there, of all the trades made during the course of this season, prior to the trade deadline, that includes DeAndre Hopkins, that includes Amari Cooper, that includes the Ravens getting why am I blanking on his name? What is the name of Deontay Johnson? Thank you, Abel Ambrosio. Deontay Johnson, that includes the Jets getting Devontae Adams. What do you think will ultimately be the most impactful trade that was made prior to the deadline? Not just talking about today. I'm talking about all of the trades that we've seen take place during the course of this regular season. Adams to the Jets, Cooper to the Bills, Hopkins to the Chiefs, Johnson to the Ravens. All of those trades, the ones we've seen today, which do you think will ultimately be the most impactful trade when it's all said and done? Zadarius Smith to the Lions also happened today. That's a big one. Which do you think will be the most impactful trade when we look back on all of the moves that have been made over the last month to a month and a half? Leave it down in the comment section. D-Hop is a good one. I mean, until somebody knocks the Chiefs off of the top of the mountain, that's a massive move. That's a massive move because it gives them a chance to get back there again. Not saying that they wouldn't have without him, but it was going to be a struggle with the current crop of receivers that they had prior to that trade. I see Lattimore. That's a really good one too. You know, the Commanders are legit, and if he is the Marshawn Lattimore that we know he is capable of being, then now this could be a situation like Chase Young last year with the 49ers. We knew Chase Young was going to give them diminishing returns. We knew that. And we happily shipped him off. And 49ers fans felt like they had stole from us and they were feeling great about the deal. And we told them, this dude ain't shit. This dude doesn't hustle. And you can't get your damn pick back. Just know that. You can't get your shit back. And then a month and a half later, 49ers fans like, yo, Chase Young is trash. Why y'all ain't tell us yada yada? Hey, look, man, we already told you. No returns, no exchanges. Buyer beware. That could be the case with Marshawn Lattimore. You know, we'll see. Let's hope that it's not. Let's hope that it's not. Rich says, my heart says Marshawn, but my head says D-Hop just on the attention he will bring. I think if you can move your bias aside, I think D-Hop is more impactful because of the pedigree in Kansas City, and that's a Hall of Fame player we talking about. DeAndre Hopkins is a Hall of Fame player. You got a Hall of Fame player still playing at a high level. We know what kind of an impact. We've already seen the impact of a DeAndre Hopkins, and not just what he brings to the table, but what he does for others. Travis Kelce has looked like Travis Kelce the last 2 weeks. Prior to his arrival in Kansas City, Travis Kelce didn't look like Travis Kelce. So it's not just what DeAndre Hopkins, man, had 2 touchdown catches last night, over 100 yards receiving last night. It's not just that impact that he brings to the table. It's the fact that he's going to make others better around him. Marshawn Lattimore can do the same thing, and it's not as quantifiable, but he's going to have to come in and play the kind of football that we know he's capable of playing, right? So we are 2 minutes away from the 4 o'clock hour. I told you guys that I didn't think any more trades would take place. Felt like we were done. We'll see if anybody else jumps in here, gets something done before the end of this deadline, but doesn't feel like it. Feels like we're done, and we got a lot done today. Just today in trades alone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 trades just today. That's a lot for the NFL. And if you count the one that happened yesterday between the Cardinals and the Broncos, that's 8 trades, you know, within a 36-hour period for the trade deadline. So, lots of trades taking place. Lots of trades taking place. And I don't see anything else happening. All right. Ian Rappaport just put a bow on it. He says it is 4 p.m. on the East Coast. The trade deadline is come and gone. If trades are not in by now, they have not happened. So that we're officially done. Um, we'll see if anything. I'll give it another about 5 minutes or so, just to make sure nothing snuck in before the 4 o'clock p.m. deadline on the East Coast. If nothing else transpires, we will then move on, and we will obviously talk about this plenty. We will talk about this plenty in coming streams, coming shows. We'll give it another 5 minutes or so. If you haven't already done so, please hit the like button. Appreciate all of y'all kicking it with me. The Eagles have released tight end Albert O. So that experiment in Philadelphia is over with. Albert O is now gone. If I'm the Chargers, I might think about kicking those tires. Again, you need to really boost the athletic profile of your tight ends if you're the Chargers. All right. All right. So just checking to see if there's any more news. Steelers now have Alex Highsmith, Nate Herbig opposite, and now Preston Smith opposite of TJ Watt. DeMarvin Leal is also another guy, but not a needle mover. Highsmith has dealt with injuries. Herbig has dealt with injuries. So you just need that depth, right? Preston Smith offers you that. And like I said, you can not only have Preston Smith play opposite, in we got one last trade at the buzzer. This is from Ian Rappaport. The Texans traded backup defensive tackle Khalil Davis to the 49ers. So that was the last trade, I think, that came down. So not a big one, not a needle moving one, but just some depth for a 49ers team that after this bye week is going to make a mad dash and a push to try to be the 49ers of old that we've come to fear and know in that NFC West division that all of a sudden is super competitive. So with that said, got a couple supers and then we'll get out of here. Joe Rockhead, Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Breaking, Joe Rockhead says, the Louie T Network is trading Duncan Wright to Lord Brunson for a bag of hot Funyuns and a vegan smoothie. Hey, I would definitely take that trade. I don't need the hot Funyuns. Just give me the smoothie, right? Most smoothies are vegan. I mean, I last time I checked, you're not throwing any chicken into a smoothie as long as you're not putting any sugar, right? Like regular white sugar in the smoothie, which most smoothies don't have that in it. It most smoothies are vegan for the most part. Um, but yeah, we could definitely trade Duncan Wright to Lord Brunson, not Bumson. For a bag of hot Funyuns. I'll give y'all the Funyuns. Y'all can eat the Funyuns. Give me the smoothie. That sounds really good. I think I might go make me a smoothie right now after I get off this stream with y'all. I think a smoothie sounds really good. I think I might actually go do that. So sounds like a fair trade to me. What do you guys think? Benjamin Slade, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Benjamin writes, who do we cut? I think it's probably going to be Michael Davis. That's my guess. Now, it doesn't have to be a corner. You could cut somebody from another position, but the guess is corner in means corner out. That's the guess. I mean, you could cut a guy like, say, Derek Forrest, right? I could see them doing that. Like, they don't love Derek Forrest, but he provides them with something on special teams. But guess what? Tyler Owens also provides them with the exact same thing that Derek Forrest does. And if Tyler Owens is healthy, which he is now, there's most weeks Derek Forrest is going to be a healthy scratch as long as Tyler Owens is healthy. As long as the safeties remain healthy and Tyler Owens remains healthy, there's no purpose that Derek Forrest serves. So they could cut Derek Forrest. But Derek Forrest, to me, still serves a purpose because he offers you depth at a position and can play special teams if you need to pull him up, all that good stuff. I just think it's corner in, corner out. So instead of getting rid of a guy from another position, which you can do that. I think they're just going to move on from Michael Davis. And if Michael Davis is removed from the equation, that frees up what, 24? He's 24, right? I would assume that's what Lattimore would be, 24. So it makes perfectly good sense. If you move on from Defoe, that moves, I think that opens up 22, right? That's what Defoe is, right? So either way, we'll get him something in the 20s, if he so desires. I think most of the single-digit numbers are gone. Noah Igbenogany is 1. Mikey Sainristil is 0. Diami's 2. Austin Seibert is 3. I don't think anybody is. Oh, Frankie Louvu's wearing 4. Jaden's wearing 5. Dante Fowler Jr. is wearing 6. Joe Theismann is 7. No one's wearing that. 8 is Brian Robinson Jr. and 9 is Sonny Jurgensen. Nobody's wearing that. So single digits are all spoken for. You get into the teens. I don't like corners wearing teen numbers. That's whack to me. You either a single digit number or you're in the 20s as a corner. I don't even like corners wearing 30s or 40s. So I think he's going to be in the 20s somewhere. My guess is 24 after they cut Michael Davis. That's my guess. But obviously, the trade has to fully take place, which means he has to pass a physical first. Pass that physical, it becomes official. They'll make a corresponding move. I think that move is going to be cutting Michael Davis and then bringing him back onto the um, practice squad. If nobody else, like if he doesn't, go somewhere else, I think he'll be back on the practice squad. So we'll see what happens. But I'll check the phone one last time. We're 10 minutes after. I don't think there's going to be any more deals. I think everything's kind of done now at this point. But I will check one last time. But I think that last deal we talked about with the Texans and the 49ers is it. I think everything is kind of settled in and whatever happened has happened. So yeah. I've gone to all the major pages. That Texans deal was the last deal. So we will now exit stage left. Big shout out to everybody who rolled with me for any point of this stream. I've been live for almost 4 hours, chronicling this deadline on this bonus pod episode as we, looked at everything. We reacted in real time to the trades. Most of them happened while we were live on the air. Obviously the Marshawn Lattimore trade happened relatively early while we were on. Mike Williams happened to the Steelers. That's a big move for them. Preston Smith to the Steelers happened. We reacted to that. And I think there was one more trade that happened. Tre'Davious White to the Ravens. And there may have been one more that happened, but a lot of trades took place today. Lions get Zadarius Smith. Like I said, the Steelers very active acquiring Preston Smith and Mike Williams. Commanders with the blockbuster of the day getting Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints. A lot of activity. Teams understand that there's a window, there's an opportunity, and they're looking to seize it. And so this should be one fun season as things continue. But that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. Really appreciate all of you for joining me on this special bonus pod episode, NFL trade deadline special. I look forward to kicking it with you guys a little bit later on. And I look forward to chopping it up with you on the podcast tomorrow. But until then, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. One last thing here. The Cowboys are releasing veteran defensive tackle Jordan Phillips. So the Cowboys are cleaning a little bit of house, doing a little bit of house cleaning. They also released, I think, a corner that I saw not too long ago. I think I saw that the Cowboys had released a corner as well. So they're doing a little bit of house cleaning in Dallas. And not that it matters. You guys have a good one. Take care. Really appreciate y'all. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Until then, you know what it is. Take care. God bless. Have a good one.